and welcome everyone to Upcasters, our second show. I'm sitting in a bit of a different spot. I'll be playing as a character, and we'll do some quick introductions. Good start. Um,
Immediately dropping the ball.
yeah, immediately, as always. So I'll be a player. I'll be controlling two characters, which is going to be a bit spicy, but we've got a party of six. So I'll be playing the Paladin Leo and the Bladesinger Warlock Tal.
Gives me a high possibility of killing PCs.
Yeah,
True.
it does. Oh, golly. Cool. So we have a new member of the team. Take it away, Lockie. Please introduce yourself and who you're playing, briefly.
Yeah, I'm Lachlan, and first time playing this, and I am playing Rogue, Fenrir,
Very nice.
and
That's it.
and a few words.
Look, everyone's backstory is that I did, for all of you out there, we've already done a prelude with everyone. Small little stories, the way that the books are written. So it makes sense for Lachlan to be a little hidden with Fenrir, as everyone's done their own different things and knows different lore. So wait your turn. You'll find out what Fenrir knows.
And then we've got a very familiar Geordie. Who are you playing?
Hello, I'm Geordie. I'm playing a sorcerer this time, keeping it within the spellcasters. So, yeah. Yay!
And Toby, last but not least.
Hi, I'm Toby. I, like Rams, have decided I don't hate myself enough, so we are going to play two player characters at once. I'm playing the Barbarian Dagar Valerius and also the Life Cleric Relena. And yeah, we're just dealing damage and healing everyone. Good.
Excellent. And leading the show, we've got a brand new member of the team, I guess, who does this professionally. So he's come on board as a bit of a extracurriculum activity. So
I am
take it
ready.
away.
Nice to see everyone. Hope you've seen me on some other streams guest starring with Jasper's Week that Australia and Queensland ran earlier in the year, and then guest appearing every so often on Crit and Miss and some other ones. But I'm here starting my own first proper campaign with Upcasters and Rami and Toby, and getting this fun little group together. They messaged me back when we did the Spelljammer one-shot, and they were doing some amazing roleplay, but they wanted to do a private session. Everything slowly made its way towards where we decided to stream it so that all of you guys can enjoy as well, with the latest book in Dungeons & Dragons, Dragonelance, exploring the new setting and world, Shadow of the Dragon Queen. So, the story goes from level 1 to level 11. However, I have tweaked it, and this will be going from level 1 to roughly level 18, most likely. There's a lot more extended add-ons to the end, and lots of little bits of NPCs, villains, and plots and everything that have been tweaked every so often. So this will definitely be our own unique take on it. So enjoy the story, stay with us for a while, and make sure that you watch each of the episodes, as this will be going for quite a while, so you can be a proper true fan.
So the characters live that long.
Yeah.
Otherwise, are we good to go?
Yeah. It's
Jump in.
it's on to you. So,
Okay, lovely. Well, for everyone joining us for the first time and my lovely players, we are going to be exploring the first little bit of this village where this entire story begins. Right now, all of you can see the continent of Ansalon, the world of Kryn, and this area that we're in right now. The area itself, we end up going in on the top right region of a land known as Solomnia. In Solomnia, where we will be exploring, is a tiny little fishing village that goes as follows. At the edge of the Solomonic plains of Hinterland lies a quiet fishing village of Vogler. Home to humans, Kenda, hill dwarves, Vogler is the last stop on a road to nowhere. The city's north, scattered woods and shady brooks give way to deadly badlands known as the Northern Wastes, and across the Vingard River to the southern stretches, a land of grim legends and opportunity known as the province of Nightlund, whose nearby port holds one of the beauties of all of Ansalon, Calaman, welcome to traders from long-forgotten realms. Vogler, however, couple of days' travel from Calaman, knows little of the evils that set afoot in the world. And on the day where our characters are currently joining this adventure, they're coming from different paths of life, whether they have lived in Vogler, running away from their own backstories, or looking for a new opportunity. They're all drawn here with one common cause. It's not a tavern, there's not a shady wizard sitting in there. Instead, all of you over your lives have become friends with a boyish and jolly individual, Ispin Greenshield, a adventurer with a lovely view of life, telling tall tales of many different things, some true, some not true. And unfortunately, you've all received the same letter from Becklin Uth Vahiran, Knight of the Crown, explaining that Ispin has died, explaining that the circumstances of his death are not detailed. However, the letter was an invitation for you close friends, people that Ispin had spoken about with his own tales, to come to this land, to come to Vogler, this tiny fishing village, on the eve of a festival that they are preparing for, and host his wake and his funeral. So both a somber time, but also a joyous time, as everyone is celebrating the life that he did have, and this was his last wish, so that you guys would be able to enjoy it together and tell some tales just like he always told. But we'll go around our players now and introduce our characters and their first views of Vogler. Coming through the gates north of the city at an area known as the River Gate, to the north entrance. We only have a single member of the adventuring party. Out of all the people coming from different areas to the northern gate, we have a sorcerer currently with her own plans, traveling around Solomnia in search of someone, but taking a quick stop, as it's already part of her journey anyway, with Ada. Ada, as you walk into Vogler, you see the well-mannered people sort of walking around, humans, Kenda, the sights around you. Vogler itself, this Solomnic village that you see, rests on the edge of the Vingard River. The height from where you are at the moment, you're coming down a hill towards the city on this path and road that leads towards Rivergate. The Rivergate itself is a very old fortification, if it could be called that. The walls cover to the left and the right of this tiny entrance that comes into the city itself. And the gate is permanently ajar. As you're walking past, you can see that there's no guards at the gate itself, and the doorways left and right of this maybe 30-foot wide, 20-foot tall structure seem to be wrecked in mud on either side, where this thing looks like it would need force to be closed. It's common knowledge at the moment that for several hundreds of years there's been obviously minor wars here and there, but majoritarily peace. And Solomnia is one of the most prosperous lands, so also one of the safest, and Vogler is living rich in that, in the fact that their people can enjoy a quiet life, farming, fishing, and seeing how things are. So, as Ada begins to walk into the town and seeing the sort of sprawl in front of her, what's her first thoughts? Give us a detail as well. What does Ada look like for all of our audience members as she's walking through, and then tell us what she's wanting to do.
Okay. So as she'd be walking in, she's been like traveled around for a while by herself, I'm assuming, to get here. It had taken obviously a couple of days, so she'd just be moseying along and just taking it all in. As hasn't been, she didn't pass through here with when she was traveling with them. No.
Most of your travels when you were going around with Ispin previously, and even training with Talia, those were in the middle sections of Solomnia. You're now at the very fringes of the top right, as far as the borders go.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Well, seeing traveling around through various different towns, she just going through, taking it all in, and noticing obviously that there's no one at the front gate. she'd probably just take a little bit of a step, but knowing that she's in like Solomnia and she'd be safe as she's by herself. But she'd mosey her way in and just say hello to people, trying to be as nice as she can be. But as she walks in, you see she looks humanoid, but her eyes are bright yellow with little slits, like kind of like snake eyes, sort of, with like grey blue hair, mid-length, and she's just she'd be in a probably a brown like travel cloak with and she'd have some nicer leather bodice and stuff on underneath.
Lovely. Whereabouts
yeah.
is she storing her spell book that she's just received from her initiation? Is it on her waist or in one of the bags?
Probably in a bag, because this is like the first book she's got, so she'd want to keep it
on the wraps.
Yeah.
No problem. You start making your way through, and you don't even need to try to be nice. Everyone here is extremely friendly. Everyone not only seems just really in nature, but they're all in high spirits for the fact that the festival's tomorrow. You see kids running through the streets holding streamers, tassels running through the air, other men sort of carrying boxes from different areas, preparing and setting up stalls throughout some of the streets. As you're walking through the streets for the very first roll of today, and the introduction of our second character, could you please give me a perception check?
Okay. Shit. Roll.
Okay, an 18 plus 1 for a 19 for the first roll today. Starting off good. Hopefully, you don't use all of your good rolls now. No. So, as you start walking through the gates of the city, this sort of friendly atmosphere is what you've sort of picked up within the first 10-15 meters of just stepping through the gates. You haven't wandered through town. This is the first initial sight. You're quickly interrupted, however, by this lovely interaction, and as you swiftly hear and then turn your head, seeing a person not flying with the power of flight, but flying with the power of force through the sky, as you see some female figure screaming as she zooms across the top of the gate and kind of goes from one end of these peaks that's on the left side, and you see like a keep of some sort flying from that direction to the other side, where you see the trees on the right side of this keep on the edge there, and hear like a crash and a bang.
Goodness. Go over and check it out. Does other people notice this, or is it just like a quick
You wait a couple of seconds, you see that some of the people that are there sort of look towards it. Some of the kids sort of squeal in excitement when they see this figure fly across. A couple of the adults sort of just groan and then keep back to preparing for the festival. They don't seem too worried. As you're looking for an area to kind of get up there, I'll bring us to the map of Vogler so I can sort of explain where you are and what you're seeing right now. So, bring all of our players across to the lovely little fishing village on the Vingard River. Give it a second for everyone to load in. So, as you're waiting, you've stepped through the gates, and you can see right now, you are just here at the river gate. You've taken a couple of steps into possibly this intersection where it's starting to go left and right, as you've turned back and seen this figure flying from over here across the ridge to the other side in where the trees are up above. As you look across there, you quickly want to go and help and turn towards where there might be a possible entrance, but it's sheer cliffs on all sides at the moment. You can't see a way to get up from where you are. You wait a minute or two before you see the figure sort of stand to the edge with this weird contraption around her shoulders, bits of string and bags hanging behind her from the contraption, and a hard helmet. As you see, she sort of stands to the edge and then gives the thumbs up back towards the keep. Toby, would you like to introduce us to your character, Relena?
Yes.
What they look like and what they're currently doing right now, because you definitely know what's going on.
Yeah, so she's still taking this weird contraption off her back that's got way too many straps and loose ends. But you see a young human-looking female who's got long, really nice brown hair Her skin is like really tan, which almost kind of like you have to double take it. Almost like it's got a hint of like gold to it, or it's just a nice tan she's got on. She's got this chest plate on that maybe at one stage might have been a breastplate, but it's sort of since been converted into almost like a crash pad type deal. And she's got like slight traces of gold, like almost like tattoo looking things on her skin. But yeah, she's just throwing these massive thumbs up back towards the Thornhall Keep, where you can see this like catapult kind of getting reset.
There's a large catapult on the top of the keep that you now look to, Ada, and see it winding back and cranking, and then from the other side, casting some sort of possibly, you think for a second like magic, like you already know, being a sorcerer yourself, spells like prestidigitation and thaumaturgy, things that have different effects of changing, and you know that one of them can change the volume of a voice. You think for a second that's happening as you see like the small figure on the keep hold something up to their mouth, and then you just hear an echo back, "Hey, you didn't break anything this time?"
No, I'm all good.
A quiet shout back from this female form on the other side. "Okay, well, quick, come back over. I want to practice one more time before we need to head down to the funeral. Quick. As you see the figure sort of disappears from the edge of the cliff as Ada runs back and starts making her way down from the cliffside to the entrance, which takes about 5 minutes. So it'd be, well, you'd be waiting for a little bit, Ada, without anything actually happening as Relena sort of dashes away. As Relena's heading down, however, you did hear, obviously, the fact that they said we need to get ready over that megaphone for the funeral. So you know that even some of the other people in town are getting ready for Ispin as well. As you start to wander through the streets and head into Vogler, getting ready for everything, we jump now to the southern side of Vogler, to the Vogler Crossing. As we pan across the streets of the city, West Side House, a large ornate structure, the mayor's home, the village circle with a large tree in the center, and other more tassels and dancing ropes being tied to the edges of the tree in all directions, and marketplaces. Eventually we get to the end with Vogler's Crossing. Vogler's Crossing itself is a Goliath of a structure. An old pre-cataclysm design of some sorts. Vogler's Crossing itself, you can see, half constructed with technologies that have now been lost to this age, and looks more like a glorified pier. Huge columns that let this bridge rise up out of the waters, thick bases in all area, ways of moving stone that people just no longer know how to do. A remnant, unfortunately, of a once promised glory for Vogler. A lot of destruction being what people would know from Istar. At the end of the bridge that goes about halfway across the Vingard River, there's a simple ferry system of ropes and winches that follows bridges and connects supports to the end of the opposite shore. There's simple rafts and skiffs that attach to these, and they allow you to even see at the moment the rest of the party members that we're about to introduce shortly as you're walking to the edge of the opposite side of the river. That enough of them are actually allowing the things large enough of small wagons to be carried across. You see lots of other wares and preparations for the festival, food, wine, drinks, are all slowly being put on the skiffs as it's just like a... if you're going to like a snow mountain and you had the chair that continuously goes around, it's similar to that, but with a bunch of rafts. That it takes about, from what you've seen as you're walking down and getting ready, about 10 minutes for one of these rafts to go from one end to the other. You do see on the sides, though, that a couple more richer individuals seem to be grabbing actual boats, people that are either fishers or fairies, you're not totally sure, and pulling out coin purses and hiring private travel across, which seems to be a bit quicker. But that is where we will introduce quite a few people, as some already knowing each other and some all just so happening to hop on the same ferry, begin getting ready to take this crossing, Vogler's Crossing, to the small fishing town. First, not knowing any of the others, seeing some strangers to his left and to his right, we will stay with Toby, as I would like you to introduce to us Dagar, what he looks like and what his thoughts are at the moment as he starts approaching, seeing lots of different faces and races and people of this small fishing village.
So Dagar is a tall human man, with these kind of knightly armor shoulder pads that go down just his arms. They look like they've been cleaned well, but not properly in a long time. Like it looks like he's cleaned it, but it's more just been a hand, like done by hand. His hair is long and his beard's a bit long too, but it's trimmed back as best as he has done by himself. Still trying to keep an air of cleanliness about him, but it's all done solo, so it's a little bit raggedy. You can see his white cape that he wears. The bottom of it is pretty much just turned to a dark grey brown colour from the mud that he's been walking through. On his side is a big massive greatsword, and the other side is a small dagger. And he's wearing the colours that some might know as like a Knight of Slomia type colours, like the yellow kind of chest tunic that might give him away. But he's currently stroking and patting his his friend he's had for about 2 years now, this jet black riding horse, Maximus, who's not looking too fond on this boat. He's kind of doing the hand spread shaking. He's trying to just pat his muzzle and trying to calm him down a little bit, but
dragging a horse through water. Enjoy that.
Yeah.
So as you slowly begin to approach, you see the ferry that you're getting closer to in preparations to travel across. There seems to be a group of about 4 and a couple of other the people that are actually like handling the ferry itself and pulling on the ropes and continuing the travel, but 4 people that are also jumping on with you. As the 4 people begin hopping on together, one who was a member of their party strays off for a second, possibly a 5th. You're not totally sure. He seems to be going to some of the other ferries or doing something at the moment. Fenrir, we will go to you first as the individual stepping away from the cohort that you've been traveling with so far, as right now you're currently looking for any sort of bandages or wares that you can gather for your new friend and someone that you might actually be able to trust at this funeral, Leo. After the small endeavor that you both had encountered while arriving to Vogler, you know that he's still not the best in shape, so you're sort of quickly looking around as this is the first sort of sign of civilization since your interaction, which was only about 2 hours ago for you guys. So, as you're walking around, before we do any sort of check, do you want to give me and all of us a explanation of what Fenrir looks like, and then tell us how you're sort of searching around? If you're talking to someone, if you want to steal something, see how we're going to start the story for this rogue. But yeah.
Yes. So I am a fire genasi, but a bit unique in kind. I don't have, my skin is of a darker brown complexion, but my hair is jet black and in the light purple tinge on the edges. I've got a leather coat that is paired with a hood, but now that I'm traveling in what seems to be a safer location, I have the hood down and going about my merry way. I have a rapier on my left side and daggers either side of my left and right thigh. And yeah, currently looking around, I'm kind of observing to see who the person would be to go to, where the supplies would be.
You don't really need to do any sort of investigation check. It becomes very obvious that you see one man walking around with a sort of snapboard and parchment on it. He seems to have a pencil of some kind, writing things down, as he seems to be both checking everything off and then going to all of the wharf ramps as they're about to take off and go from one side to the next. He seems to be non-stop moving from one place to the other. And you recognize who would most likely be like the officer of this wharf.
So, well, straight away I approach him. Excuse me, sir. Can I have a moment?
Yeah, sure. What's up? Are you gaining passage? What's your name? How much cargo? How many people?
Fenrir, I'm in a party of 4, 5.
Yep,
I currently have, coming through the forest, came into a bit of combat, have an injured person. Is there any chance I can get some medical supplies?
Yes, we don't have any on us here. You'd probably want to head into the city and medical supplies. Your best option would probably be seeing there's a woman who owns a shop. She'll have a blue infinity symbol as a sign. If you go to there, she'll have some remedies and things that you might be able to grab. That'd probably be keeping an eye out for that. But you'll need to cross over first. I don't have anything on here. So five members, you said. Is how many adults, how many kids?
So they're all adults.
Okay, perfect. Are you bringing any goods over?
This great sword that I had found, or long sword, sorry. That's about it.
Okay, longsword found. Interesting. Any weapons? Obviously, you've got the longsword, but I can see you seem fairly strapped. Just so I can record it all down.
Yeah, so I've got a rapier, 2 daggers, that longsword, and also, sorry, I forgot to mention, bow on my back.
Okay, perfect. What weapons do all of your entourage have?
It's great sword, axe, and if you want, I can take you to them, and it's
Probably
probably
best.
easier.
Okay,
Yeah.
and he like starts quickly walking over with you as you have to kind of kick up your feet and catch up with him as you come to the wharf with the other individuals there. As you're making your way over, and we have the rest of the party who are starting to kind of load things. It looks like you probably need to organize a second one of these ferries for all of the horses of your group. We'll go first with Leo. So Rami, would you like to introduce us to what Leo looks like, and then rather than what he's doing, give us a little role play at the moment with his own group that have traveled here with him from his keep.
Yeah, so you see a 7'8", very broad-chested, big-armed gentleman. He's probably in his late 40s, maybe early 50s. He's got white hair with a white beard and a really massive moustache. It seems to be his only form of expression. When he smiles, it kind of goes up a bit. He seems quite happy. He's not wearing any armor or so. He's got a few slashes on his chest from a recent encounter. In his pack, which is on his horse, you can see armor kind of like hanging off it in a different way of just for ease of travel. And he wields a great sword. Standing awkwardly kind of behind, resting on a railing, trying to be the cool kid of the group, is a very petite female woman with red hair that goes down in a ponytail that goes to the middle of her shoulders. She's wearing all black with red through it, has a sword on her side, and is very distinct by the white mask that she wears with these antlers that kind of come off of it, hiding her identity.
Lovely. So with your two characters, we then have Leo has the small little entourage with him, 2 guards from his keep, and his son. One guard stands off to the side with a large war axe and very orange hair and beard, Bjorn, and then the other 2, the left seems to be a bit more of a thinner bodied man with a heavy crossbow strawn to his back and basic leather gears, Thar. And in between the both of them, looking at you and asking if he can organize the transportation for the horses and be in charge of it, your son, a smaller version of yourself, ever so slightly, spiked hair, white, despite the fact that he's probably in his late teens, and a long sword across his back. He's not strong enough yet to wield a great sword. He's still trying to get there. But he is currently just pleading with you, Dad, you didn't even let me help in the fight. I can get some bloody horses across this water.
Okay. I trust you.
Okay. And he turns to go away. Bjorn, your right in command, goes to follow him, and he stops for a second. By myself, Bjorn. And Bjorn kind of gives him a grunt and a smile, and then steps back beside you as you see your son walks off and meets up with Fenrir and the master of the wharf. As both of them turn towards yourself and Tao, and the individual that's sort of on the raft with all of you, I would say with your own history in life in Calaman, you recognize colors of a knight of Salomonia. However, he definitely seems to be possibly one of the many disgraced knights that you've seen that have given up on their code as his armor is tarnished, clothes dirty, and you see him also sitting there at the moment. Can I get from Tal, Leo, and Dagar a perception check from those three?
That's me.
So was that Dagar as well?
Yes.
Sorry.
17.
Okay.
18.
And one from Tal as well. Just to verify who is seeing what. Perfect. With everyone, Leo, Dagar, and Tal, Dagar, you had pulled out the letter, just reading it over one more time, almost in a little bit of disbelief, as he was the first person, Ispin, that you knew that kind of believed in you a little bit. He hadn't fully done anything like that or even been a father figure. He had simply been like a friend and had helped you for your first sort of adventure, giving that life into yourself before you could start doing it for yourself. And so you had the letter in hand as you were making your way to the wharf, slipping out of your pack, Leo, for yourself, as you obviously, like you said, just had some sort of fight earlier. Your letter's still hanging in from the side where you'd put it in after Fenrir had also previously noticed it, on the edge of your backpack as well. As all three of you, Tal, Leo, and Dagar, kind of recognize that you're all here for the same reason. That one connecting friend.
You two know Ispin well? See, and I'll kind of like wave the letter that we all have.
I'm going to stand and approach over and hold my hand out. Not as well as I'd liked, but we had a few adventures. Leo, pleasure to meet you.
Dagar, nice to meet you too. And were you part of the same kind of group as him? What? I see there's a few of you here.
Apologies. I have a keep in the mountains, and Espen stopped by frequently to rest. We went on a few minor adventures together around.
Bjorn steps forward, putting an arm around your shoulder. I think you mean we have a keep, boss.
It is true.
Yeah. Nice to meet you. Well, we're all here. The boss had a friend, and he's wanting to say some goodbyes. He got a little teary, didn't you? Like elbows you in the chest.
That'll be enough for that.
But it looks like we've got a bit of a group kind of forming here. Okay, perfect. Across the way from you guys, we have Fenrir making his way with the Wharf Master, as Hidan, the son of Leo, begins approaching the both of you about 15, 20 feet away from the actual vessel that everyone's slowly standing on at the moment and getting prepared for. So within earshot of the rest of everyone, if you were to speak loudly, not obviously you're not wanting to, but Hidan approaches the both of you. Okay. Hello, Wharf Master, and he stops for a second. Another one. Okay. Yes. How many people? We have once, and he's. How many people? Come on, quick, and like clicks to the boy. Okay. We've got 5 horses. Needing to be 4 horses. 5 or 4. 4. Definitely 4. 4 horses being taken across to the city, and we need lodging for them. Okay. I don't organize lodging for them. Totally fine. What's your name? Gives him his name, signs down. Okay, perfect, signature. You two together, and Heaton sort of looks towards you, sort of in shock at the moment of just the rushingness of this officer sort of taking control of the conversation.
I just give him you wanted this, so you deal with it. Look, like just standing like hands on hips, like come on.
Yeah, we're together. I really thought Fenrir you might talk. Okay, yeah, no, we're together. Okay, perfect, no problem. So he's like walks past Hidan, just stepping past him as he signed everything. Weapons from everyone. I see the boy has the long sword on his shoulder. For the rest of you, and starts looking towards Tal, Leo, and Dagar, Thar, as well as Bjorn. Got a small army coming in. I guess you're the second for the visitors to Vogler like this. Hopefully we're all safe. Okay, what are you guys bringing in?
Greatsword, myself, and a few daggers.
A few? How many?
2.
2? Okay. Next, and points towards Tal.
Tal just points to her sword and just gives a thumbs up.
Okay, lovely, no problem. Bjorn answers as he lifts up his one Greatax, proud of it. Before he gets too much of a chance as well, the Wharf Master turns towards Thar as well. Thar sort of just turns to his back with the crossbow, and then finally towards you, Dagar. And last of all, how many weapons?
I'm not traveling this group, but if you want to put us together, it might be easier. Just
are you on the same vessel?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
One and my companion Maximus here, and then I just have the greatsword and this one dagger.
Your horse
And
is
a
a
few
weapon?
javelins.
Is it magical?
In my eyes, he is, yeah.
Lovely. Okay, no problem. Well, travel across here is free. None of you guys are taking the ferry, so you don't need to worry about any payment. But you do need to log yourselves as having entered, and the city itself does have an entry fee, 2 copper pieces per person. Don't have to pay it here. You'll pay it when you get across the sea to my son. He'll be in the wharfinger's office here, and he rips off a bit of the parchment and hands it to Leo as the closest member of the group. This will be for your boat if you all want to just organize together the payments. Okay, perfect. And he turns off. Last of all, if any of you do have any questions, also while traveling back home, my name is Umpton Lanth. I am the wharfinger here. Is everything okay? Otherwise, you guys are good to travel across?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Okay, perfect, lovely. And he storms off and starts doing more work as your son sort of hasn't made eye contact with you, and you can see he's walking over to lead the horses to the back raft to start getting them prepared for the second one. And the rest of all of you are getting prepared for the first raft. As everyone's getting on, Fenrir and Dagar, you both get a look at each other for the first time, a bit more of a shady-looking individual, and equally probably a dirty, not as shady individual as one sees this ex-knight of Slomnir, and one looks at this figure that definitely seems to be on the wrong side of the law. Probably 2 people that, from an initial outlook right now, don't meld with their lifestyles. As you all get on the raft itself, you begin feeling the tug of the water as the person on the front of the raft and every other raft in front of you, as there's about probably 20, 10 on one side coming back and 10 on the other side going to, slowly being pulled one heave at a time as it slowly begins to go over. Like I mentioned earlier, this does take about 10 minutes at the moment, as there's this sort of awkward silence for the first couple of minutes, with Dagar being on with a complete group that all seem to know each other.
I'll kind of look over towards Leo and then nod towards Fenrir and be like, is he part of your group as well? He doesn't look in the same stature as you four.
We met him on the road. It was quite brief, but when some these weird dragon creatures attacked some soldiers, we stepped in to help. He was quite deadly with the bow, very precise.
He definitely, Bjorn, chatting up again, definitely worked in some sort of circus. He was flipping everywhere, doing shit, jumping across trees and branches. But yeah, apparently wasn't good enough for a big captain here. Some creatures attacked him, reptilian things. You were saying were right, and he looks towards the 3 of you. Wings and stuff, you said?
Yeah, looked like.
Oh yeah.
Like a one of those lizard folk, but had wings, had scales, and had this ichor over it, almost like a deformity. It was a sight I haven't seen, and I've seen many things east of the mountains that should not be seen, and this thing was brand new and deadly.
I can't say I've heard anything that matches that description in my travels either. So you, and gesturing towards Fenrir, are you here for the festival or here for the funeral, or both?
Funeral, but who's to say that a festival won't do too well after such a depressing thing as a funeral?
I think,
And Fenrir is my name, by the way. Overheard you asking about me.
yeah,
I'm sure you can. Yeah.
The awkward rebuttal of like, yeah, I was here when you spoke.
Yeah.
Lovely. As you guys talk a little bit about Ispin, Vogler, the maybe thoughts about what's going to happen at this festival. The letter did state that it was the Kingfisher Festival, but nothing much more than that. And out of everyone, only one person actually has lived in Vogler or even been here before. So this is a new experience for the majority of you. But your group slowly goes along and eventually reaches the other side of the wharf. The horses are taken off, and Thar and Bjorn turn to you, Leo. We'll take the horses to the Brass Crab, start getting them set up. You guys wander around and enjoy your time. Obviously, funeral, from what we saw in the letters, starting soon, a couple of hours in the afternoon. At the Brass Crab as well, so we'll see you there. But you and the son have some fun times, and the rest of you don't get attacked by reptile lizard folk. And Bjorn turns away.
I actually might follow you three. I need to put Maximus up in some lodging as well.
Oh, okay, easy. Well, we can take him for you if you want, but if you want to come along and check out the Brass Crab, I heard there's drinks there.
I'll come to make sure I know where he is, and then.
Easy. And he starts walking off as Tal, Fenrir, and Leo start to look for this building that Fenrir, you were told about. A building somewhere in Vogler that has a infinity blue symbol where the healer's meant to be. As you are going over quickly, however, coming on from the other side after a couple of minutes is your son just behind you, Hedon. He's got the horses, and you see Bjorn and Thar go over to him to start grabbing their reins. And Hedon asks you, Leo, do you want me to go to the officer's wharf and pay the bill, or did you want to quickly go and handle that yourself?
Oh, it's your big responsibility, and I'll give him a gold piece.
Okay.
And ensure that you pay for our fellow travelers as well.
Oh, okay, no problem. As Fenrir and Dagar, you kind of overhear and see Leo offering to pay for everyone that'll travel across the ferry. Okay, no problem. 1 gold, 10 silver, 10 copper, 1 silver. As you hear him sort of muffling the currency in his head as he walks off and tries to calculate how much he's going to have to pay. But first, we will go back to the front of the gates of the city with Ada. Ada, as you're making your way through town, through the streets, there's a large sort of park area on your right, heading down the main area of town. To the right, you see that a large building off to the sides doesn't have any sort of signage as far as you can see, and on the outside it seems to be a curved wall, which is fairly unique in this sort of day and age in medieval times. But you do overhear some people talking outside. Just looks like a man and a woman sitting on a seat, not at the house, but looking towards it as well. Would you like to give me a perception check? Well, actually, I'll ask you, is Ada being nosy as it's her first time in town? Is Ada a gossip girl or no?
She's definitely keeping a ear out after seeing that lady fly across the bloody.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so she's keeping an ear out, definitely.
Give me a perception check as you listen in on the conversation. 5. Okay, so you do manage to catch the conversation, but not unseen. As you're sort of like leaning up against a tree that's near the seat that they're sitting on, you do overhear the first bits of the conversation. You overhear them talking about some lord for a second. The manor, West Side House, it's called. And they're sort of talking about the frustrations of how he keeps trying to take over from the mayor and thinks that he's in charge. But before you can gather too much of the conversation and what they're sort of gossiping about themselves quietly, the bark that you're sort of leaning on snaps, as you fall into like a laying position and quickly get up, trying to put your hand underneath your face. And the man looks over. Are you okay?
Yes.
Is it
Sorry.
like a wince of pain?
I'm fine.
Okay, he like walks over and helps you up again, just showing the friendliness of this small little fishing town. Not suspecting the slightest that you were sitting next to a tree that was about 3 feet away from them. And helps you to your feet.
I didn't realize it was that close. Oh god.
I don't recognize you. Are you here for the festival? We don't get too many newcomers for it, but sometimes people join.
Yeah, I'm here for the festival as well. But also for the funeral for
Oh, you
Green
knew his
Shield.
thing. Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know him too personally well myself, but his stories, we all know about that. He'd come to the Brass Crab and tell everyone so many things. That the shield that he had that apparently was gifted by a unicorn. It always made everyone smile and the kids had a good time. Well, looks towards the girl sitting on the seat and then looks back towards you. If I was you, I'd just stick away from that house just there. The owner, Lord Baccharis Uth Estide.
Oh my god.
Him and his son, Baccharis the Younger, how original. They think that they're in charge of the town. We have a lovely mayor. Vogler has always been Vogler. We don't need outsiders coming from rich towns thinking that they're going to be in charge. And he talks to everyone like we're yokels. So, just be careful. Baccharis. Remember that name. Stay clear of it. But lovely seeing you, and I won't see you at the funeral. That's for close friends and family. But I might see you at the festival. Lovely meeting you. And gives you a bow, and him and the woman sort of step up and start walking off.
Yeah, I'll just bow back and I'll be like, go to kind of shake a hand, but as they walk off, I'll just be like, making my way.
As you start leaving in one direction, they start heading in another. You see just more of the town itself. Vogler in its entirety, the streamers that are hanging everywhere now, you now realize that there's the same sort of sigil, and all of you across Vogler notice the same thing on sigils hanging across all of these flags and tapestries throughout the town. They all seem to be of a kingfisher. Little blue bird with blue wings and outside, a long black beak, and an orange chest. Seems to be maybe the symbol of this town, this little kingfisher. But Ada, you begin making your way through the rest of town, starting to head to the center, and will disappear from you to a certain individual with a minor concussion, heading down the ramps back into the city itself as you quickly meet up with Thane Raylena.
That one worked a lot better. The landing's still a little bit rough. You can like add more like balloons in it. It might soften the landing a little bit more, but it's
I
only,
told
a
you.
minor concussion this time.
See, it's going so well. I can't believe we got it to work so quickly. You are my lucky charm. Okay, next, what I want to work on is a way to shoot you further with the flinger. I'm designing something that's going to have the same sort of contraptions that makes fire combust. It's going to be able to shoot you further and higher and go longer. I'm calling it the Gobby Knocker.
Pardon?
The Gobby Knocker. So, should be ready. My guess is a couple of days after the Kingfisher Festival. We'll let everything cool down, let all the tourists leave the town, because I know you and Becklin are crazy about your safety. But then we'll test it, and from my guess, I can get you from where we are all the way to High Hill. You remember in your head, High Hill is a mile away from Vogler.
Okay. First of all, I don't like the name. But can we not use fire? Because I am unfortunately not fireproof, like we discovered
The
2
fire
months ago.
the fire doesn't hit you, and it's not like the grass burner that I made a little bit back. We're not going to burn down your mother's house again. That's fine. This fire shoots down, away from you. It's meant to push you away. I don't know if you've ever been near an explosion, but you know how an explosion like pushes you away from it.
Yes, it's a daily habit with you.
It's going to be a continual combustion and explosion from your rear.
I mean, if I wanted that, I would try your cooking again.
I'm going to get to work. You said that your mum needed you for setting up for the festival.
Yes.
Okay.
Shoot, what time is it? Oh, yeah, I gotta go.
You see, you're meant to meet your mum
Change the name.
30 minutes ago.
Yeah.
As you look towards like the sun sort of coming down, and roughly you know that it's been a little bit since you were meant to meet her. You were meant to meet her at noon when the sun was directly in the sky, and it's starting to slightly wane on one side.
Oh, dash.
Sorry, the sun, not the moon. So, as you start running towards her, you head finally back to home, back to your mother's house, and opening the doors of this tiny little area, you see her preparing bags and different goods. As she snaps her head towards you. Raylina, I told you to be here on time. You and Thane need to stop messing around. You know, people get injured here, all the people walking around on stilts pretending that they're kingfishers walking through the water. Okay, hurry up.
I'm sorry. Running.
As you walk past your mother, Malia, as she's preparing things, and you grab your own wares and goods, you quickly see on the desk that same little amulet that you found a couple of weeks ago, and you chuck it in your pocket just in case as it catches your attention again. But as you guys are rushing towards the door, you're stopped. Someone standing in the doorway as it's still half swung open from your quick rush inside, as you see some large male individuals, a female behind, one grey contrast with the design of Leo, the other one a bit more sort of hooded and flaming hair coming from him with Fenrir, and Tal sort of behind both of them, a female that is hooded with a white mask. Definitely three unique looking individuals. You're not sure if they're obviously tourists visiting. You know about the funeral, and you know that Ispin was an adventurer, but you also know that with the festival itself, entertainment is hired, and so some people will start setting up things. But you see them approaching. Could you give me a medicine check as they're approaching?
I'll swing the door. I'm still in like a bit of a mad rush. I'll swing the door open, and like, oh my, and then look up like, oh my. You are a mountainous man. But for medicine, 18.
Lovely. You see a slash that goes maybe 3 inches long and definitely looks like it pushes into close to vital organs, but it's been wrapped up. You just know from the straightaway look being trained by your mother, the blood that has been seeping from these sort of hand-me-down bandages on the outside, and then a couple of other cuts along his side. It looks like whoever this large, tall man is with his grey hair seems to have been attacked.
Oh. That doesn't look good. Come inside, sit down. No, just kind of go and grab him by his big, massive forearm and just start dragging him in.
Oh,
Your
boy.
mother leans out like the doorway that she's in. Oh, okay. She doesn't obviously know what's wrong. You've got them handled? I need to rush.
I think it's only the one. Yeah, I got this one. You go set up the store. I think it's just the one.
Lovely meeting all of you. Happy Kingfisher. And she quickly rushes out the door.
Is just the one, the dress you have injuries?
No, I'm fine. Tal?
She just gives the thumbs up.
Tal is so cool. I love it.
I'm just this like our like normal stool we sit patients on that is just like comically small for this giant man. I'm just gonna place him down on there. Can you please remove the shirt so I can see what I'm dealing with here?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go start grabbing like different medical stuff like vials and bandages
Start
and stuff
grabbing
like
all
that.
the things that you need. I'll still keep the same medicine check as you're sort of in your zone at the moment. You quickly grab the different pieces and sort of reapply the bandages. You change and add some ointment to the scar itself, letting him know that it's not the same as obviously healing magic, but what you've done should ensure that the scarring is minimal and everything should close up. Most likely your guess would be in the next 2 to 3 weeks, which is not too bad in this day and age, you know, Leo. Usually it takes a month or so for a wound of this size to heal over. So this little female in front of you with tannish sort of sparkling skin and her mother that's just ran out definitely knows what they're doing.
So if
Everyone also sees that Leo has heaps of scars over his chest and over his back, arrow wounds just covered in different little bits and bobs.
Jeez, Leo, you're not really good at dodging weapons.
No, I find it's better to win the fight if you do, more damage to your enemies first before they do it to you. So
Yeah. What can I say? I'm a sucker puncher.
thick skin.
in my own
as you
personal
guys
opinion,
are-
I would just say, don't avoid whatever you were doing to get this. Avoid that for about 2 to 3 weeks, and it should be fine.
Oh, thank you.
As
Healer.
you guys gain the advice and you're sort of sitting in there at the moment, you do see out the window that same sign hanging with the infinity symbol. From everyone there, so Tal, Leo, and Fenrir, other than Raylana, could I please get a, as none of you particularly know this yourself, a religion check?
Also,
from those three.
This little vial here should help dull the pain for a day or so.
As you hand the ointment across to Leo. Fenrir. Just yourself, you recognize with some of the teachings that you had received back in Kaolin, under the mountain with your father, with the dwarves that lived there, you had learnt a little bit about other gods and other deities of Kryn from old people that had assumed they'd all just left and fled, but some still tried to worship to them. One of the ones that you heard about was Habakkuk. Habakkuk was known as the Fisher King, his symbolism being a blue phoenix. And you recognize as you're coming through town, that's the Kingfisher that you've seen around a lot of Vogler seems to have a very similar drawing and sign of the Habakkuk first. These things you've noticed with your good roll tonight. So you recognize that Vogler possibly thinks of the Kingfisher as some sort of animal that they respect, and Habakkuk is most likely their patron at the moment here. For people that probably even remember who Habakkuk is, with the Cataclysm, a lot of information about these gods has kind of gone and has just been missing since then. The other thing that you recognize seems to be the symbol on the front of this door. You tilt your head for a second, and all of these lessons coming back from your father, stuff that you may have not wanted to remember. But it seems like the mother and daughter that live here seem to worship a god that you know as Mishakal. Mishakal being a god that you should remember as compassion and love. It was often said in the scriptures that clerics and healers would often worship her back before the cataclysm, and they could cast miraculous wonders. Obviously, this little girl in front of you hasn't cast any sort of magic, and the gods, as is common knowledge, do not exist on Kryn. Some people don't speculate whether they existed at all, but it looks like that's who they at least have some sort of symbolism to. Mishakal. But you see the sign and recognize that symbol. If you wanted to bring it up, if not, everyone's sort of just quietly talking. Raylana hands across the small ointment to Leo, telling you to just reapply that. And for the most part, you guys are okay, and you know that it's about an hour until the funeral's meant to take place. So preparations were obviously probably getting over there, getting everything organized, your stay in the Brass Crab needing to take place now that you're feeling a bit better. But Fenrir, did you want to mention anything, or do you just keep it close to your chest?
Yeah, I'd like to mention something to Raylana. Raylana, was it?
Yes. Yeah. So my name's Raylana. What's yours? All
Uh,
yours.
Fenrir. Sorry, I'm Fenrir.
Nice to meet you. And
It looks towards Leo.
Oh,
the
I'm just like
obvious half giant.
I'm just looking at my.
As
my
you're looking at your
wound.
scar.
I'm Leo. Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Yes. Did you have a question?
Yes, actually. I see coming into this town and even around your place here, there's symbology of the old gods. Do you know much about it, or does your mother?
It's more of a heirloom that my mother got from her grandmother, and more of a family heirloom type deal. But yeah, my mom does believe in Misha Callan, that she helps her with healing and helps us, through our teachings and stuff. But I just do it because my mom does it. Really, I don't really. It's not really here. Are
Okay.
they?
Yeah, well, that's what everyone says. Do you know anything of this symbol? And so I drew this symbol that I've seen on those reptiles.
Correct, yes. You
Yeah.
lift up the parchment. We'll say that you had a couple of different colors, and you've actually been able to replicate the symbol that you see in front of you, Raylana. It seems to be a spiral coming out from the center, like almost forming a sphere, but only in small strands that come out in all directions, turning around, arcing one after another, almost like a series of claws all coming around, creating this circle. Each of these arcs that sprawl out from the center seem to be in different colors: white, black, red, blue, and red. Give me a religion check.
I really like how they have religion as an intelligence thing and always. Hey, natural 20.
Natural 20. With a natural 20, I will read to you one of the scriptures that your mother did have of some of the gods, and she would read it to you as a nursery rhyme of, if you did evil or bad things, this person would come and do evil and bad things to you and trying to scare you off when you were a little girl.
I've seen before. There's a little book in. Hold on, I've got a book around here somewhere. Mom used to read these little bedtime stories. Hold on, let me have a look. I'll go grab the book and then.
You go and find it, and as you pull it out, it's titled "She That Is Evil," and the insides of it seems to just be mainly a picture book with a couple of sentences here and there. You read it to him. Takesis, leader of the evil gods of Kryn, council and court member of all doom, is known as the Dragon Queen, the Queen of Darkness, in other worlds, other titles, and other names. She is the god of pride, power, and control, and those that wish for the same thing often fall to her sway as queen of all that is chromatic. She tempts mortals, men, and children to her service with offers of dominance over others, bullies. Barred from Kryn, she seeks a way to come back and tempt those, so once more she can turn you into a naughty little kid.
That is one creepy poem.
Yeah, it's just a fairy tale though. It's not real. It's just a fairy tale to scare kids and be good and stuff. Why?
I mean,
did you find that symbol?
Well, it's funny she says the god of the Dragon Queen, because I don't know, they just look like flightless dragons that we fought in the forest. Well, lizard creatures, but deformed.
Was that to the east?
Could you three give me a persuasion check with disadvantage, and could I get that against Raylana? What's your passive insight?
16.
16. With disadvantage, can one of you three try to beat that with a persuasion check? Oof! Fenrir, lovely. You're looking towards, and Leo, his cuts, you've seen people like this before, people that say that wondrous things have dealt damage to them because either they're embarrassed that they just got kicked by a horse or something and some stray tool flicked into their side. You think for a second that might be the case. Towel is expressionless, doesn't seem to be helping the argument either. But as they're talking about this, you can just see the intensity of both interest but also slight fear in Fenrir's eyes.
Did you? Where did you come from? Were you from the east?
Yes.
Yes.
Then
Yes.
I heard some thought they were just crazy old fools at the brass crab the other day. said that they saw dragons in the east, but everyone just thinks they might have been some magic or disillusion or something, or they're just fools telling tall tales.
Not dragons from the stories. These were roughly our size. Small creatures. Nothing from any fairy tales of massive beasts in the air. This is smaller. Yeah.
As the air gets tense in the room and there's an awkward silence of pressure as you all sort of stare towards each other, the symbol placed on the table of whoever this Takesis is. Hello. Okay. Relina, you good now? You got a free moment to practice?
Oh Christ! I've got a patient at the moment. Sorry, Thorn, can this wait?
A patient? Oh, okay. He looks pretty big. He could probably hold the gobby knocker.
No. Well, maybe after the festival. We'll wait a bit.
Okay. Well, your mum told me. I saw her walking through town. She said to not get an airhead like you usually do. The funeral's happening soon. Yeah. And he gives you like finger guns.
Hey, sorry to the rest of the group here. I'll be like, sorry, I have to pack up and go. I have a funeral to attend. Do you guys have anywhere you need to be I can take you to or show you around?
Actually, that funeral.
Oh, you were friends of Builders as well?
Seems he's friends with everybody.
Yeah, he has that way. Okay, great. Yeah, let me just close up and then I will take us there.
Away from all of this, we travel back to the port as the horses were being carried over to the Brass Crab, and we have Dagar by himself as the party members at the moment, but still side by side with Bjorn and Thar, as Hedan seems to be at the port handling things at the moment. You start making your way to the side around the edges of the port from the Vogler crossing to where the Brass Crab is located. The Brass Crab itself in front of you seems to be a modest single-story village wharf building. The exterior vaguely resembles its namesake, the sides curling around like that of a crab, and hanging from the front door seems to be a large ornate, it looks like maybe like the bottom of what used to be a boat on either side for clothes, and then the bottom of some sort of like boiler for like the body and some other bits of copper put together to look like a giant brass crab hanging from the front door. As you make your way inside, you automatically see it's quite a busy area in here. Doesn't seem to be too tavern-like, more like a place for you guys to stay. You see some rooms and hallways going off in one direction, and a lady of fair complexion and fair beauty walking through with her hair done up in a bun and a large sort of apron on the front, who seems to be just as busy as that wharf officer that you met back. She sees you guys entering and quickly goes and comes to you first. Lovely to meet you all. My name is Yalm. Are you here for the funeral? Everything's already been paid for. I simply just need to receive your letters.
Yeah, go to my pocket and produce my letter.
You grab it out. Bjorn and Thar both pull out their versions and copies as you three...
Me.
Sorry?
Sorry, what? Oh, sorry.
Pull out their letters. I thought you were saying you were pulling it as well. I'm like, you are still across town, sir. Sorry, as you.
Oh yeah, I corrected myself. Yeah.
as you three pull it out, Bjorn, Thar, and Dagar, pulling them out and handing them to this female Yalm. You notice straight away in the background that you can hear a very badly strung. It's hard to tell for a second. You think it's some sort of string instrument, and then you see that it's a lyre, but it's just, rather than playing it melodiously, they're like twinging on the lyre. Ding, dong, dong. Once, dong, it was a man, ding, called his spin, ding dong dong. And you can see that there's many people around that are like wincing and have their heads in bowls. Other people that are like attending the funeral, friends and family. There's a couple that are like grinning and laughing. And Yalm like looks across towards him, gives him a smile, very appreciative and happy with what he's doing, and looks back towards you as this man continues to keep singing the tale of Ispin with this badly strung lyre. Okay, your rooms will be down the hallway. Here's your keys. Passes them to you. Food will be served in the morning. Everything's already paid for. Becklin, our protector and knight of Solomnia. Look, they may not be the best of people usually, but she's earned her stay in Vogler, and she's paid for all of you. So make sure you thank her at the funeral. Everything's already paid for. Everything's already handled. So enjoy your stay. Enjoy the Kingfisher Festival. And if you want to buy any extra food or wares, just come and see me. But lovely seeing you all. And she gives you a bow and a curtsy.
Just before you head off, do you have anyone who could give my friend Maximus out there a good brush and maybe change his hooves for, like, pull out a gold or 2 piece and just be like, there's someone I can take him. He's a bit of a spruce up.
Look, I can do all of that for a silver piece. We can get someone by looking after all the horses, and that'll be for your entire stay here. You don't need to give me a gold here. She takes the gold, grabs out some change, and hands you back 9 silver.
Please,
honest work, honest pay.
I'm sure I'll end up getting some extra stuff too, so just consider it in advance.
Okay, look, well, future drinks and food that you want on the house, for all of your party that's staying, no matter who it is, because this gold honestly would pay. This gold would pay for like everyone staying here, and food and drinks for everyone for the entire time. So, look, thank you. Gives you like a kiss on the cheek. I'm in a hurry though. Everything's very busy at the moment. They're doing the final preparations for the funeral. I know that some of the mercenaries are coming into town as well. And the Kingfish Festival is about to kick off. The mayor's in a bit of a hump. Apparently, the Bucaris family is causing more trouble. Gossip. But you guys have a nice day. Happy Kingfisher.
Point us in direction of where they're having the festival funeral.
Oh, everyone's just gathering here first, and then you're just going out those doors, and she points out to the doors to the wharf, and you can even see it here on the map. There's a little walkway that goes to a roof just here at the bottom of the B of the Brass Crab. Just there, and you see that it seems to be a stage with a cover at the end of the wharf, possibly an area where maybe fishermen stand and fish from the small wharf pier just there, but it looks like it could also be used for bands during the night or performances, things like that. Possibly this person who's still twinging away, "Green shield, twing twing, he was my mate, twang," as he's still playing. That stage there is where they'll be hosting the funeral and sending off dear Ispin and his ish body. You see that she does like a quick schedule of a religious symbol. Can you give me a religion check yourself just quickly?
Boy. Not my strong suit. It's a 7.
You see that she kisses her fingers and then like brushes each of her shoulders, like left and right, and you don't recognize what it's from. And as she says kind words to Ispin and his deceased spirit. But she gives you guys a nice smile and heads off into the Brass Crab, as there's still more people and the bad music currently being done at the moment by this individual with his lyre. Is there anything Dagar's wanting to do, or is he just wanting to check out his room?
I'm with Bjorn and Thar, was it?
Yeah. You see that Bjorn at this point has gone and pulled up a seat, and he's currently now heckling the lyre player.
I'll just go over with them and just sit down and then just all talk about their journeys and stuff. And
Thar chats with you one-on-one a little bit, and I'll do that in a second, as he starts talking to you about the travels. The entire time, Bjorn, however, "Look, my mother had a horse, and her horse ate worms that could pull string better than that." And the individual sort of turns and grunts for a second. "Ispin!" and looks towards Bjorn. Bjorn still gives him like a hand wave and continues heckling him, as Thar sort of smiles a little bit towards Bjorn and looks back towards you. Yeah, so that's everything that happened up until the travel here. These weird reptilian creatures. I didn't see them face to face. Captain did. But before that, we've been doing quite a bit. We were previously at Calaman, the capital, not too far from here, and life happened, and Captain grabbed me, Bjorn, a couple of other good men. It's about a few dozen of us, and we left Calaman. We needed to be treated better, and he treated us better.
So what order do you follow? You don't look like knights. I don't think I've ever heard of your faction before.
Oh no, we're not an order of any of the knights. We're just we currently now, I guess, adventurers or mercenaries. The title's kind of up in the air. Some of the men don't like being called mercenaries, even though it's literally just someone being paid for work. Most people always think it's something bad. So sometimes we just call ourselves adventurers. Espen, when he visited a couple of times, often shouted that out all the time and made all the men smile. But we were soldiers of Calaman. Calaman has a military force. I know that you may have not seen one yourself, as most places across Ansalon at the moment don't have military forces. With everything that's happened since the Cataclysm and what scholars say about Istar and the end of the world and all this crap, whether it actually happened or not. But nowadays, things are kind of peaceful. Obviously, we know a little bit more about this. Calaman has forces because of the east. I don't know if you've ever been to Esterwild. You know about Esterwild, as it was just south of where you came from, Nordmar. You know that it was a bandit-ridden mountainous region. Esterwild had tribes who would come down the plains and try to raid the portlands and farm rich farming soils of Solomnia and the Solomnic plains. And so Captain would lead us, and we would be one of the vanguards handling and dealing with them. So yeah, soldier through and through, and you see that he lifts up a little iron coin that has like a symbol of Calaman. But that's our life behind us now, so no longer in that. But what about yourself? You got some gear and stuff yourself? You mentioned the knights. You're not a knight of Solomnia, are you?
No, I was always a squire, and right now I'm not too sure. I kind of left that behind. My master traded his honor for a belly full of wine and a pocket full of gold. That was quite illy.
Sorry,
so I thought...
I didn't mean to react like that. It just doesn't surprise me, to be honest. You're lucky that you got out. The Knights of Solomnia, from what we've seen and heard and experienced ourselves, bunch of rich, pompous people that are using the power of their ancestors and heritage to think that they can do whatever they want nowadays. I heard from my dad. He told me before he passed away bits of history about the world. He was going a bit crazy. And he said that the Knights of Solomnia could have stopped the Cataclysm. Don't know if it's true or not, but look, just one story or another, they're always screwing up. So don't get back in there. If you joined as a squire, you're lucky. Live your life and actually do something proper. Become an adventurer like Espen.
I'll just try and hide my ever so slight curdling of like salt. They're just a little bit annoyance. Because but I'm kind of shook down and change the subject. Speaking of that captain of yours, surely he is on some sort of drug. That man is a monster.
No, he was. So story goes, and Bjorn sort of turns in and talks in. I'll tell this one. Look, I'm a big man, and you see him. He looks like he's about maybe 6'4". He's definitely tall, definitely wide, for a human. Rumor goes that Leo's family and their heritage travels back to giant race of men. Pale white skin, lived in the mountains high up there. We've seen the same thing whenever we went to Esterwild. He'd always breathed it if he was born there. But there's a story. When he was a toddler, he lifted his own crib and threw it across the room, smashing it. Thar sort of giggles for a second. We make up a lot of tall tales about Captain just because of how big he is. But he doesn't really talk about his where he came from too much with his heritage. And from what we've seen so far, despite his giant size and amazing strength, he's a man through and through. He's always been there for us. He definitely doesn't have white or blue skin, so I know that much. As you guys are talking, you're interrupted by the doors swinging open again. And you see stepping through inside the brass crab sort of draws your attention for a second, because in these medieval times, beauty is a thing that is very far and few and in between. Yalma, the owner of this place, is, like I said, of modest looks herself. A lot of even the men around town, being just like fishermen in this poorly medicated medieval atmosphere, have sort of warts and boils in certain areas, either underfed or overfed, depending on their occupation. And the woman that walks in, you can see with a traveling pack and cloak, does seem to be fairly elegant in nature, almost as if she was like looked upon from above. And you see Ada walks inside. You don't know, obviously, who this is, but Ada, you walk in, and the first thing you notice before you even see anything is what you hear. Green shield! Twang bong! Ding dong! You kissed my feet and helped me. As you start making your way inside, Yalm quickly comes and introduces herself, talks to you, hands you your key, grabs, tells you obviously there's no pay or anything, and makes her way on another way, telling you that drinks and whatnot wherever you want. But there's quite a lot of varied faces here, people from many walks of life. You guys aren't the only adventurers, mercenaries, wizards, stuff like that. You can see a couple of other people at other tables. There's like an elf sitting at one that seems to be practicing a little bit of magic. A figure of insane beauty with blonde hair, looks like possibly one of the elves from the southeast side of the continent, very far away, with freckles across her face, and almost like wedding gowns across her body, what she's wearing. And then you see closer towards you, three men all turned and looking towards you with weapons and kind of roughish looks. The main one at the moment, in the middle of both of them, that's turned his entire chair, has like mud on his boots, his cloak, his shirt, his shoulders, his pauldron, as you see Dagar.
Gentlemen. Hello.
Lady, Bjorn
Yeah,
says, and does like a weird bow, not knowing how to properly bow.
Yeah, I'll stand up and do like at the half-waist kind of head bow.
I'm just gonna wait a moment, and I'm just gonna prestidigitate and clean the mud off his bottom of his cloak and off his boots.
Ah, the first time being clean since you left the keep and left your master. 2 years. You're it actually cleans up rather nice. And can you actually give me a perception check for a second, Dagar?
That is amazing. I've never thought I'd be able to get that mud stain out of
You're at
water
a
before.
funeral. You need to look presentable. You'd think you'd sort of, maybe clean up a bit, so I just did it for you.
Oh.
With that,
He's probably got hurt a bit, but natural 20.
With the natural 20, you notice several individuals, the beautiful elf with like wedding clothes on almost, a couple of other people that look like adventurers and whatnot, a group of like 4 people and a female dwarf sitting at a table, all wearing like grade armor and sort of half plate themselves with swords at their side. Seem to be like an entourage of some kind, all matching in their gear. Many different people all quickly look towards you and hold a disdainful stare as you look properly like a squire of Solomnia now.
Did I do something wrong?
No,
What?
I appreciate it. I've tried for so long to get that stain out of the white, but River's can only do so
I
much.
could change it back if you want.
No, it's fine. It's great.
One of the chairs is crashed across the side of the floor as one of the figures from just a regular adventurer, not from the matching table, not from the female, just one of the other folks there. Seems to just be a human with a scimitar at his side, desert-looking garbs and clothes. We already heard there was one knight here. The town likes her. 2 is too much. As he's standing above you, Bjorn and Thar.
I'm not a knight, and I'll kind of just turn my back to him. And, can I please, Ada, sorry, no, I don't know your name. Can I buy you a drink for cleaning my clothes?
Grabs
Yeah.
your shoulder and pulls you back. We ain't done. I said 2 is too many, and I think everyone agrees as he raises his head and like looks around the brass crab. At this point, Fenrir, Leo, Relena, and Tal all walk through the front door as you see this sort of interaction taking place.
Hey,
I'm just there in the
Dagger.
middle, just like,
Yeah, I'll just like turn to this dude and then just like kind of get real close to him and be like, "We're done." And I just like kind of like give him the nudge to go sit down.
As everyone steps in and seems to recognize you, give me an intimidation check with advantage.
Uh, 15.
With a 15, he looks across, sees the weapon and gear, and the both prestige of Ada and Tal, as well as the size of the weapons of Bjorn and Leo, and individuals like that. The heavy crossbow, even on Thar's back, is fairly large. You've got your own greatsword on your back. Fenrir walks in with like flaming hair, setting quite a scene as well. Sure. And he walks back over to his table and sits down. He was just sitting by himself, wasn't with anyone, kind of just bursted on his own. As
yeah.
the rest of you,
That's right.
along with Relena, sort of sit down, and at this larger table, you're all together for the first time.
What was going on there?
Just someone thought he'd try and show how big he is. It happens all the time.
From all of you, other than you'll also Toby do this for Relena. Can I please get a history check from everyone but Dagar?
$17 for Elena.
14.
Okay. Everyone but Leo and Fenrir, everyone but those two, recognizes the clothing and symbolism of a knight of Solomnia, or at least a member of the orders of Solomnia. I'll let you all decide personally whether your character thinks the same as like the rest of the world on the Knights of Solomnia, people that could have stopped it or possibly knew about the cataclysm and let the end of the world happen. Obviously, this is all speculation and rumors because it was 300 years ago. Or whether your character doesn't see the grime of it and has seen Knights of Solomnia trying to do good around the place. There's obviously also Knights of Solomnia that have sort of abandoned their cause and have just set up in places as bodyguards and hitmen and mercenaries. It's such a sporadic thing at the moment. So I'll let you decide how your character views it. But for everyone but Fenrir and Tal, you recognize Dagar as a member of this order, even though he himself isn't wholly one at the moment.
I see now why they may have gotten slightly mad. I've only heard stories, but like, I'm sorry if I brought it out. Let's say.
Oh, that's fine. I appreciate you cleaning my clothes. A drink, allow me, and I'll go and get a drink. I don't know what, wine for
You grab some wine. Yalma sort of smiles, and even with your clothing, she sort of leans in and whispers, "If you're anything like Becklin, then you're a Dahl." And she gives you another kiss on the other cheek, and as you sort of make your way with the wine glasses back to the table, as she's just happy that she knows that you're a nice person already.
For cleaning my clothes, thank you.
Thank you.
So your
And
name
I'll just
was...
yeah. I'm like in the middle of putting my hand out to introduce myself. I'm Ada. Pleasure to meet you. And you are?
Dagar Valeris, and I'll get a little kiss in the hand. All good night, should.
Pleasure to meet you, sir. Sir?
Not sir.
Bjorn gives you a bit of an elbow at the table and kicks your feet, Leo, as you can see that he's angry, as he gives eyes towards Dagar. You guys in the past have had dealings with like corrupt knights of Solomnia.
I'm just gonna stand him up, give him a little pat on the back, and say, just go for a walk. Cool down. We're at a funeral.
He done was organizing stuff at the wharf. He's still not back. I should go and check on him. He grinds his teeth and walks out. As you're all sitting there, and after a little minute of silence, conversation starts to begin again about Ispin. You're all shortly interrupted by the image of, known so far by a couple of you actually. Ada, you've seen this female before. Raylina knows this individual from living in town. As both of you recognize, Becklin Uth Vahiran, a Solomonic knight herself, with her in her Solomonic armor and gear, in respect for when she used to adventure with Ispin Greenshield. Her helmet made of plate with large horns rising from the ceiling. When I say that, they look close to the ceiling because the horns themselves go up a good maybe 1.5 foot. They're large horns that rise from the helmet she's wearing. A solid suit of plate mail that has inscriptions and carvings and runes along the entire thing, depicting art and symbolisms. You can tell from the symbols that her current rank is, for you, Dagar, this is definitely most prevalent, even though you don't know this individual, that she is rank a Knight of the Crown, so that the lowest of the ranks that are available. No one else probably knows the actual ranks. You're the only one that kind of clocks this symbolism on her armor. But with a warm smile on her face and a sword at her waist and a shield on her arm, she opens the doors, seeing everyone here. There's a shout from the female dwarf sitting with all of those grey-coloured armoured individuals in the half plate at the table. Hey! Long time no see! Yes, it's nice to see you too, Cudgel. And all of you recognize the name straight away, as you've been told stories from Ispin about his 3 adventuring pair. Becklin, right in front of you, and Cudgel Ironsmile, the small female dwarf that's sitting with these other larger men at the table. Okay. Thank you all for attending our funeral for our dear, sweet friend, Ispin Greenshield. We'll be explaining his life, what happened, and I know a lot of you have curiosities about how he came to his end, and it wasn't in a bad way. It was how he always loved it. But we will be going through all of this in the wake. If you can all follow me outside, we have prepared his barge, and we will do our farewells. The plan is after this, we will return back to the Brass Crab for food and drinks and merriment and song, as she looks towards the individual still twinging away, who finally sort of stops and gives a bow towards Becklin, stopping his beautiful melody and song that he was singing, as Becklin mentions the return to here. Hopefully all of you can come back. I know some of you are only quickly stopping over, but we do have the chance for all of us to tell one last tale about Ispin. He always did it to us, always rambling on. Was a beautiful thing, and I hope that you can all say something beautiful back in response, as we can all enjoy his life one more time. After that, any of you wishing to stay, the Brass Crab has been paid for the next 3 days. I paid for everyone. No need to organize anything back. Just simply have a good time and enjoy yourselves. If you wish to stay for the entire 3 days, that will give you time to also enjoy both this afternoon and tomorrow, which is the dawn of the Kingfisher Festival. There'll be drinks and parades and things around town, as well as in the late afternoon tomorrow, the reenactment of the Battle of High Hill. And then the day after, you can sober up and be on your ways for the 3 days here. And I hope you enjoy Vogler as much as Ispin did with his time here. But if you'd all kindly follow me, we'll begin. And she turns around and starts walking out along the pavement road towards this staged pier.
Follow.
Yep.
You see everyone else slowly starts to stand up and go past, making their way into a bit of a crowd. There's a solid maybe 60 to 70 people here with many people of different ages and wakes of life, as he seemed to knew everyone from, it looks like younger adults, like Raylena herself. Your mother comes and stands beside you, finally attending Raylena, putting like an arm around your shoulder and pulling you close, as well as like adults and adventurers, as you pan across people like Fenrir and Ada, and then older individuals, as you see not only Leo himself, but even further than Leo, you see a lot of old, looks like people that probably live in Vogler with walking canes and staffs and props to sort of help them all around the wharf at the moment. You see, stepping past her entourage, Cudgel, the small little dwarf, makes her way up to the stage, as both of them are standing side by side, the two other members of this adventuring party. And for the most part, everyone's trying to be respectful about it. You do see across the way, Dagar sees across the way that deserted individual that still every so often gives eyes, but for the most part is trying to be respectful himself. He turns and it's not that he's trying to annoy you or draw attention. You can tell that it's just his own personal frustration at the Knights of Solomnia, and as angry as that makes you, you can't help but remember back to your master and sort of understand. You may not sympathize, but you at least understand. As they start to begin. For everyone here, I want to thank you all for coming and joining us. This procedure with what we will be doing will be fairly simple with the wake. We'll be sending him off downstream. The currents will be traveling north out to sea. So why we did it during midday at the moment. That should carry him out to the Tiberus Ocean, and from there his body will travel who knows where for one final adventure. For everyone, though, I wanted to thank you all for coming and give you some closure. Ispin, she tears up a little bit. He'd invited me to come on one final adventure with him. Supposedly, he'd located the graveyard of one of the gods. Apparently, I went and came along with him, and we worked out that apparently it was actually just a grave of a town that had been abandoned not long ago. We found some small parchments and things like that. Some sort of plague had passed through. As sad as it is, we all know Anselon, famine and disease spreading through, but he still managed to find a good way in all of it. During all of it, somehow he found a poppy growing in the crypt, picked it and gave it to me. Unfortunately, as kind as he always is, there was some sort of rot in the crypt and near the poppy where he picked it on the ground. Whatever was helping it grow, beauty is not always nice. The disease slowly ate away at him. He still went on one or two more adventures, saving people, fighting off bandits, before he came back to Vogler very injured. Raylena, you remember back to one night when you heard someone coming inside the house, not too long ago, a month or two ago, but your mother told you to like stay in your room and she'd handle it, and you kind of heard someone sort of grogging and spitting, and remembered he had Beckland voice at the same time. As now that sort of clicks in your head. The injuries were too much for his weakened body, and so he gave me this one final wish. He still had a smile on his face when he finally went quiet. So for all of you out there, there's no one to seek revenge on. There's no one to grow angry at. He was happy from start to finish, as you all know. With that being said, I would like to say a prayer on our side. I will say, and if you could all just repeat after myself, it's a little thing that the people of Vogler here do when sending spirits off across the sea for good luck. She puts her hands together, and you see she does the same sigil that one of you had noticed earlier. She kisses her fingers and then waves across one shoulder and then waves across the other. You see a lot of the crowd starts doing the same thing. And from everyone now, can I please get a religion check? One, two, three, four, and two more. There we go. Dagar, Fenrir, both of you, yours is high enough to recognize that what they're doing seems to symbolize like wings off of their shoulders, and remembering the symbolism around the town, they're most likely giving reverence to the kingfisher, like the bird. And this is sort of their way of doing that, rather than putting their palms together. She lowers her head, closes her eyes. May you, crowd repeats, always be carried on calm waters. Always find a bountiful harvest. Habakkuk watches you as he sits with his line in the clouds, and he will make sure that you are safe. The crowd finishes the same, including all of you, and as she does so, Cudgel and herself turn around, and all of you are now permitted, as you see some of the crowd starts walking up to the edge. And we can put the picture up later for everyone that's watching at home, but for now, for you guys, in the story chat, you'll see a picture at the moment of Cudgel and Becklin as they start lowering the boat down into the water. Both in their armor, solemnly, you see the boat now where Ispin is being kept. His body's not visible as he's covered with a bunch of different grass and flowers are all on display. Lots of sort of hay around the edges, anything that they have present and viable in this area. Across the top of him, you see a badge that seems to be colored and made out of iron of a kingfisher. And then along all the edges of the boat, you see many different types of fish that have been caught and put there as tribute, more or less. If you'd all like to say anything, you're welcome to. If not, you can say your final goodbyes. I'll leave that to all of you now, as it sort of is sitting there just gently rocking in the water. You see Cudgel drops in what looks to be a ingot of iron as it slams into the boat. Becklin doesn't really put anything down at all. She just looks towards Ispin and seems to like softly blow a kiss, and then they walk off, and everyone else is allowed to slowly come up one by one. Now, if you don't have anything prepared, you don't have to, but I'll get some roleplay at the moment from everyone as you, if your characters want to come up one by one, and if there's something that you think you have prepared, you can just bring this up on the spot. You don't even need to look at your inventory. If you know your little backstory with Ispin, because you've all got one custom on each, there's something that you may have kept, an heirloom, something that reminded you of him that you wanted to buy or bring along the way. Otherwise, you can just go up and give a nod and a smile if this is even a bit too much for you. If you don't, getting that close can be a lot emotionally for a person. So I'll let anyone go first.
Dagar is going to, from behind his back, produce a small little ceremonial dagger that has a jade, like a jade crystal embedded in the pommel on the hilt of, and you see like in the jade green crystal, there's like a symbol of like a shield on it. And I'm going to walk up and just kind of place it in the boat next to him, and then just give like a little salute and a nod and stand up and walk back.
You make your way, and as you give your salute, and you're even walking past, there is the slightest moment as you're walking towards, you're producing it from your back. You haven't made it to the boat yet, as you're taking a couple of steps up, and you and Becklin both make eye contact for a second. in the midst of this wake and this funeral. She's still being respectful, but she does ever so slightly tilt her head in a querying way, seeing another night of Solemnia here. And as you produce it and do the salute, you see in your peripherals behind you, she does the same salute in almost like reverence and respect, seeing another knight do it. But you place the blade, thinking in your mind your own personal thoughts to Ispen, and make your way back.
As I kind of go back, I'll just look at Becklin and give her like a kind of a nod, and also, as best I can, convey like a talk to you later kind of expression. Just
she kind of gulps in for a second, not nervously, but like, okay, no problem, and like nods a couple of times as you politely walk to your area. Does anyone else have anything they would like to at all? Any of their characters?
I will just approach. Leo will. Sorry. And he'll just take a knee, put a hand on his chest, and say, quite quietly, "Goodbye, old friend. I'll see you in the afterlife."
You've unfortunately had to do this quite a lot with quite a few soldiers and men, and you just politely give what you can, and just the thoughts of this happens too much too often, and step up and walk off. Ada, as you slowly begin to approach, what are you doing?
Yeah, I'll just walk down and I'll have in my hands like a folded up piece of parchment, and I'll like go and I'll kneel down near the boat and I'll like open it, and then I'll like go to read it, and then I'll fold it back up and I'll go, "This is one of my stories that you can read wherever you're going to keep company," and I'll place it, like tuck it within like the little wraps that he's got there, and then I'll like blow him a little kiss and use prestidigitation to blow a little bit of air so all the flowers like go up, and then I'll turn around, and then as I go past Iron Smile and everyone else, I'll just give them a big like a nod and a like "I'll see you later" like kind of thing.
Lovely. Standing up and walking off. Is there anything from Raylina, Tal, or Fenrir, or do any of those just stand there and just be polite?
Tal just stands there and holds her head down.
I just walk up and say, almost under my breath, "You saved my life, and that favor I cannot return. However, I will live adventures for the both of us. And I'll see you in the next life." And then I produce flames to kind of mimic a kingfisher.
Lovely.
And it just shoots up and just dissipates.
Perfect. A bit of a sort of audible excitement from the crowd, seeing the wonderment and something nice at the funeral as you step up and make your way off. Raylene is still with her mother's arm hanging around her as a young girl. Is she's too emotional, or does she have anything prepared?
Yeah, she's shedding a tear with her mum. She's not going to go up, but in her head, she's just kind of muttering to herself because she's recently had that sort of dream. She's going to just send. She's never done it before. Just send a prayer off to Mishakal and just say like hopes she guides him through the afterlife and helps him along his way.
You say the soft prayer to Mishakal for the very first time in your life, and as that is said, everyone finally gets back to their area on the wharf and the stage, and Cudgel and Becklin step back up and begin lowering the body the rest of the distance. As it's put down into the water, the ropes finally detach and it starts to waft with the current naturally carrying it up past Vogler's crossing and then out of view around the bend to travel up north along the Vingard River. With Solemnia and this nation's oceans traveling along the way, and the Kalaman River. Eventually, you see people have already started to turn around and go back inside the keep itself, the Brass Crab, this single-story building, and Yalm is there. As everyone's making their way, you see a different person is stepping up to the area where the bard previously bard, if you could even call him that, was performing. And you see now there seems to be a person with some sort of drum in between their legs sitting on a stool as you all start kind of finding seats around at different tables. You see that Becklin's gone and is sat over with both a younger man. Really, you straight away recognize this as Duret. He's sitting with Duret Highwater. And the other members of this company that Cudgel seems to be a part of. Person on the drum starts slowly bonging. Dung, 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 dung. You were once a man. Dung. But now, dung. You are dung, dung. Not. I, dung, dung. Am not a man, dung dung. As Yalm seems very happy and pleased with herself again. And Raylina, you were the only person out of all of the party members at the moment that realized that the owner of the brass crab, Yalma, seems to have, you've always known this, she's always had an interest for quirky but very bad performers. Whatever the kind is, she loves it. And so she's hired her personal favorite too, the lyre player and the bongo player, for the wake today, as he's currently now singing about Ispin and the fact that he was once a man, but he's no longer a man. And the bongo drummer seems to now be singing about himself, no longer about Ispin. As all of you are sort of sitting down at your own individual tables, and you guys have sort of grouped together yourself. Drinks go on for another hour or so going into the afternoon for this day itself. And as it's doing so, you see a couple of people walking around to different tables and talking. There's still that beautiful elf sitting at a table, still by herself. A couple of people have tried to talk, and you can see that she sort of doesn't speak much to them, and then they walk off as if she's very somber. And otherwise, you see talking to everyone. Cudgel, the small little female dwarf, Cudgel Ironsmile, is going to every table, shouting drinks. She already seems to be sloshed at this point. And she finally slams down at all of your table. It's a sad day. I know you. And points towards Ada.
Yes, we travelled together for a while. Lovely to see you again.
A sea serpent?
No.
No. No, don't tell me. Grass. Living grass. No?
I mean, don't we all live in grass?
I like it. No. Tower. The tower, that weird cursed tower.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you were there with the other dwarf, that the red-headed lady that was fiery and wanted to kill things. Well, nice to see you. I remember Ispin was very happy on that tale. He got a bit of a story about the fact that we got paid 5k each for a drawing. What a riot!
Yeah, I was very jealous. Yeah.
But no, it's nice to see that you were able to come out here as well. I know that Ispin had a couple of talks with you when you were heading off for the you know what test. But who are all of you? How do you all know Ispin? Oh.
New acquaintance.
Well, we all got to tell a story. I'll go first. I'll break the ice if you're a bit nervous, big man, and shoves an elbow in your chest with rather hard strength. Okay, so there I was, Dwarven Mountains of Thorbidin. The brothers' war and clan fight had just finished. People are angry everywhere. At this point, I was already about maybe just shy of 100 years old. And Ispin comes charging through on a donkey. He's running towards us all. He's got a stick under one arm, and apparently he's been hired to stop the war. And I talked to him later. The best idea that he had was to make everyone laugh and smile and stop fighting that way, because he didn't see how he could kill an empire. But he said they were paying him well, so he wanted to do something and preferred to be safer about it. The riot that it was, he stayed with us a while, stayed with my family. We had some food and drinks, and it was a fun time. But he told the tale of how he stopped the war between the nation of Thorbidin with nothing but a donkey, as if you believe it or not. But that's how I met Ispin. What about you, big man? And shoves you in the gut again.
My Espen story would be the time that he got swindled by a travelling merchant with 3 barrels of what he was sold to be wine. Turns out he was swindled, got half a casket of wine, and the rest some lightly juiced water.
He did like drinking a lot, and he would tell his stories while he was drinking. So that's pretty good. Lovely. What about the rest of you? Looks around to the rest of the table.
Yeah, I met Ispin about almost a year ago now. We came across each other when we were both sent out to go rescue this farmer's daughter. And we got to talking about our horses, and he said that he won his white stallion when he beat
Yes.
ogre in an arm wrestling contest. So
You want to know who the ogre was? And she points across the room to Becklin.
oh,
And he didn't beat Becklin.
that doesn't surprise me. Yeah, the story did. She grew a number of feet every time we told the story, but yeah.
Becklin, the first time they met, it was at an arm wrestling fight in one of the capitals in Salamnia. And as they were sitting there in the main marketplace, Becklin was earning some coin. Salamnic Knights, obviously, they don't get a lot of jobs nowadays, sadly. Not many of you humans like them. But she's a good chap. And Ispin challenged her 10 times and lost 10 times. So at the end of all of it, she felt that bad and had grown to love him as he was telling stories during every arm wrestle, trying to distract her, that she gave him his horse. She'd already had another one at the stables and gave him the backup. So that's his amazing horse that he had.
There you go.
What about the rest of you?
Oh, yeah, well, during my travels north, I've met an odd assortment of races and people alike, but none quite as interesting as old Ispin Grinshield. I don't know what stood out about him from all the others. Maybe it was a lot of the tales that he told. Ones with fighting sea monsters and goblins. With you, he has mentioned you, and also Becklin.
I am a bit of a celebrity, and she swishes her brown hair.
Yeah, or maybe the fact that he named himself after his green shield. Maybe that.
Fucking green shield.
Now, he says it's got magic properties. I'm not too sure. But what I do know for two things...
She looks across the rest of the group and everyone as you say that. Did anyone see anything?
No.
No.
I didn't think so. But yeah, continue.
The two things I do know for sure, though, was the man could tell a tale. And he could... he could hold himself. I know this for sure because this is how we met on an unventured road. I was actually trying to talk my way out of being robbed from these bandits, and he actually came in and essentially saved the day.
Okay.
And saved my life.
He's done that to quite a few of us, emotionally and physically. Well, I need to head off with some more drinks, and I've got my company north of town. Any of you staying for tomorrow?
Can't see why not.
Yeah.
Lovely. I've been here to the Kingfisher Festival a couple of years. It's a beautiful thing. Becklin keeps everyone under control, and basically they do a little fight at the hill where the civilians run up the hill and down the hill pretending to be the Knights of Vogler and the bandits of Istar that fight each other over control of Calaman. They reenacted once a year in reverence of Vogler, a knight from a long time ago who apparently saved the town during the fight. But I am the prestigious owner of the Ironbridge Brigade, a mercenary group. I'd only recently came into this a leadership position. Usually I came to Vogler by myself. But I brought our entire corps here. There's about a couple of dozen of us, and we're going to be the dastardly Istar. So all the militia and general folks have organised, and they're all going to be the members of Voglers. Usually half of them have to be the winners, half of them have to be the losers, but I'm fine with my mercenaries pretending to be the losers. So definitely come and check it out, stay tomorrow, and come and have a look at the reenactment, have some fun, and I might see you guys there. But otherwise, you have a good night, and gives Leo a wink.
Have I heard of the Ironbridge mercenary group?
Give me a history check.
Damn. Come on, Leo, you dumb bastard.
As
intelligence, the dumb stats.
Yeah.
the area that they patrol and the area you patrol on Ancelon is very, very distant. I would say with a 16, you definitely have heard of them. You try to pay attention to competition, and from what you've heard, they usually handle areas in Salamnia. They handle different areas itself across the entire region, and sometimes southern areas from there of Kyolin, the Dwarvish mountains and realms, but nowhere near where you guys are. Your group and your keep obviously being in the Taman Basuk Mountains, haven't had to actually ever personally deal with them, and they themselves are what you would consider small fry. They're similar strength and group to probably your own group. Your own group wasn't as well that prestigious. You had your dozen or so men at the keep, people that had left the soldiers' forces, and even you yourself aren't a insanely powerful adventurer. You know how to handle yourself, and you know how to handle another man face to face, goblins, orcs, stuff like that. The Bridge Brigades, the Iron Bridge Brigade, from what you heard, was on similar standings. But sounds like they're camped, and she mentions that their camp area is a mile north of High Hill. So from Vogler, they'd be about 2 miles, so about a 30-minute walk. But she heads over to another table with the rest of her cohort. You see Beckland's walking around and drinking with some other people, every so often going up to the bar and grabbing drinks. There's still an elven woman sitting off by herself, and otherwise just odd bits and people here and there. The desert-garbed folk man who's sitting by himself as well at this point, drinking, and still the bongo drum playing. I really liked the fish on the morrow, when it flies through my eyes, and keeps continuing. For the rest of you, we'll take a short break now as we come back, and you guys can explore the tavern and some of the other people that you're seeing, the Cudgel's cohorts if you're wanting to, Becklin herself, Melania, your mother, Raylana is there. There's this elf woman, the deserted garbed individual, other just Kender, human, gnomes, and people in the tavern. Yalm, the owner, who's still feeding drinks and whatnot. You may want to ask some questions even about the festival tomorrow. But we'll take a short break. We'll be back in about maybe 5-10 minutes. And for all of you, go to the toilet, get a drink. That way you can stay for the rest of it, because we're finishing up around 10:30. So you all, in the meantime, have a nice little break, and we'll catch you soon.
I'm
Oh, welcome back. We are here with the Dragonlance adventure, Shadow of the Dragon Queen. We're finishing up our very first session, airing at the moment. If you're watching from home, and for all of you even watching right now, one thing that I did want to let you all know is for the continuation of this story. There'll be a little break over Christmas as my business is taking a small break. And everyone else is doing their own sort of Christmas and family things. I'm sure all of you guys are as well. And we're picking this up with the start of 2023, which I'm sad that it is already so close. These last couple of years have gone by in a blast. But we'll catch you all next year for episode 2. For now, this is sort of the airing of our show. So enjoy it with a little treat. Exactly. A teaser at the moment for everything to come as our adventurers explore Vogler. And we do the very first session. But we'll get back into it. For
Also,
anyone that's...
real quick, you can find all of our episodes of this campaign and our other one, Oceans of Many Times in Space, on YouTube Upcasters. If you would like to catch up, they will be posted there, as Twitch likes to delete videos after a certain amount of days, which is a big sad. So go check us out there, have a follow, and keep up with both adventures.
Look, you're already watching stuff like Dimension 20, Critical Role, we're the next up-and-coming thing. Give us a watch. Watch the series. But otherwise, we'll get stuck into it. And where we left off, for all of you that were there, or for them, some skipping in right now, if you've some reason jumped to the middle of the episode, we were at the funeral of Ispin Greenshield. He'd just been let into the waters and floating up the Vingard River north, Solamnia. With that being said, everyone inside the bar, there's a particular bongo drummer playing on the stage at the moment with an out-of-tune beat talking about fish that are coming inside and outside of his eyes and is singing about himself, not Ispin. Yalm, who is enjoying this beyond belief, sort of leaning against the bar with the drinks and then every so often goes and hands them to people. And the rest of you all around the tavern itself. Female elf with beautiful blonde hair, exquisite looks, and some sort of wedding gowns. Many other people and sporadic around. A deserted folk who had caused a bit of ruckus before with our Solomonic Knight, Dagar. And then the previous adventurers, Cudgel Ironsmile and Becklin Uthvahiran, the human female Knight of Solomnia, Knight of the Crown, and adventurer turned mercenary female dwarf with her cohort. Everyone's walking around, talking with everyone, and I'm going to allow the party now to split up again as you start walking around the wake, grabbing food, grabbing drinks, and interacting with people. And we'll go around one by one to see who is talking to who. More tales being told for any of you that still have some prepared, because I know we've only told a couple here. So we'll start with someone that hasn't told one yet. Ada. As you everyone starts getting up to different areas of the table, Cudgel sort of initiating this by going over to her group. Bjorn saying that he needs another drink, so he stands up with a large sway and starts heading over that direction. Thar looks towards you, Leo, and says, I'm just going to check on your boy. He should have been back by now. I'm not sure what's going on. And everyone starts spreading out a little bit. So where is Ada going? And you do have the option to just stay there sitting down and just kind of watch and drink if you'd like to. This is whatever you'd like to do.
Ada, probably being a bit more of an inquisitive woman, would want to go and investigate this lovely looking elf that's sitting by herself. And you said that people had been going up and speaking to her, but no one really stayed, kind of thing. So
exactly. The brass crab itself, like I mentioned, a single-story area, maybe with about 8 to 10 tables. Large, but not gigantic, enough that you can see all the people that are sitting there and start to remember all the different tables and people that start wandering around, different garbs, different looks. Some of the commoners maybe blend in a little bit, but there's a lot of variety even in races as well of people that knew Ispin, Kendar, gnomes, dwarves, humans. The elf stands out, and that's why she's kind of caught your eye. And like I said, and like you caught and remembered, people have been coming and talking to her, and there's just kind of been very, very brief conversations where even if they do sit down, it's for a short period of time before they stand up and sort of walk away and sit somewhere else and start drinking. You're not sure if she's just intolerable. She's wearing the wedding stuff, so maybe she is just mourning a lot heavier than everyone else in a grieving state. You're not sure what her relationship was to Ispin. From memory, you can even ask the people before you stand up to leave. Ispin wasn't married, and he didn't have any sort of spouses or kids. His only family was older family, not younger. He never actually married or had spawns of his own. So, what's going through Ada's head, and what is she doing as she sees the elf sitting down?
She's probably just very like intrigued and wanting to go and wanting to go speak to her and find out her story and like how she knows him and why she's dressed as she is, as she's an elf and she's here and she looks the way she does. And it was Ispin who would want to tell stories, so you'd think all his friends would want to tell stories, but everyone just walks away from her. So
No, 100%. As you start to make your way over, you see on a closer inspection under the sort of, it's not fully white. She's not wearing a wedding gown. And now that you can see it, seems to be like a lovely designed dress, but it seems to be a very faint teal and blue, almost on the verges of white. As you get closer, you see underneath the garbs and gowns that she's wearing, you'd thought that she might have been a dark elf, but she seems to have a deep blue skin. Could be a dark elf, but definitely doesn't have the features of the eyes that you would usually expect of one of the drow. Maybe a sea elf, it's hard to tell. But she sees you and gives you a smile, and doesn't say much more as you sort of sit down beside her.
hello, my lady. How did you know Ispin? By the way, I love your dress.
Thank you. Oh, my name is Ladara. You're on?
I'm Ada. Hello. Pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you as well. And she says like a greeting in Elvish. I had a unique relationship with Ispin. Unfortunately, things just aren't the way that they used to be in the world. It seems to slowly becoming a darker place. And her eyes kind of like wander off towards the table.
Oh, I'm sorry. What do you mean by darker? He was jolly man. Was
He wasn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's he. Do you have a story about Ispin? She seems a bit distracted.
Oh, yeah, definitely. He told this one about how he got his shield. It was from a beautiful mystical unicorn, and I swear, I spent maybe 5 days, 6 days with him when we were traveling, and I heard this story at least 5 or 6 times a day, and each time the unicorn was a different shade of pink or purple. But
And it
he
gave
got
him his shield.
yeah.
I heard the same.
Oh, yes.
No, don't feel bad. It's nice to know that many people heard these tales, and it's spread among a lot of minds, so that he's not forgotten. It's tough being one of the Telquissar. We Sylvanesti elves live long lives compared to you humans. You lose many loved ones if you don't love one of your race. It's hard. As you think about it for a second, and give me an investigation check.
I was about to say, I was like, would I have ever heard of that before? What the hell? Investigation. My God. Bang. Oh, an 8.
With an 8, you don't recognize the name of the Sylvanesti elves. It might just be one of the other types that are on this continent, but the continent is very large, and your own upbringing was very sheltered, so it makes sense that you don't know. You don't know even too much about elves themselves, but the way that she's speaking, it's the one thing that does become obvious is that she's had a lot of people, whether it's family, friends, or lovers, that have died, and it sort of scares you for a little bit. You, as a member of your race that you are, um, you have the average lifespan of a human, about 60 to 80 years. You don't. I would say with this role, we'll make some law here for Ada that she's not actually aware that many races can live longer than that. You're not aware that elves live hundreds of years, centuries, and that this could be either a situation of losing loved ones because of this long life, and because the fact Ispin was human and she might have loved Ispin and loved other people like that. Or, as far as you're concerned, a lot of people die in her life, which to you might seem even a little suspicious. But you can tell that her sadness is sincere, if anything, despite the sort of worries in the back of your head for the slightest of seconds. As you tell the story and try to ask her things, she does mention that she once used to sing with Ispin. It was the final time that she saw him, and managed to open up a little bit. Much better than the songs that are currently playing, as you hear. The fish went through my eyes, then came out my ears. Boom, boom, boom. After that, we all banqueted on horns of golden, as he starts like wave dancing on the stage at the moment now, as you and this Ladara start both giggling a little bit as she's talking about a song that she used to sing with him.
Oh. Well, I just want to. I don't know if, like, is she being like turned offish to me, or is she wanting to keep the conversation going? Because I don't want to be a pain in the ass. Like,
She's definitely sort of wandered off and doesn't seem to be
Okay.
sparing the conversation. Like about 20, 30 seconds have gone by of you both just, her looking off into the distance, not looking at the singer, just looking at like a window. Despite the fact you're sitting there and you were having a nice conversation, it may come off too rude how you would like to look at it, but she seems to kind of just be not paying attention now. Again, she's sort of become aloof.
yeah. Okay. Are you staying for the festival at all?
No, I don't think I will.
Do you have far to travel home?
Yes and no.
What do you mean? Yes.
It's complicated.
Ah. Okay, I apologize. Pry.
That is totally fine. You were not to know. But, that being said, I think I should take my leave. You also look beautiful, as she gives you a slight bow, and stands up from the table with her gown and starts walking away. You hear another bang of the drum. Dung, dung, dung! I am a wolf. Oh! As he begins howling in the night, as you like look towards him and look back. As you look back, she's gone.
Is there any chance
I-
I can follow her?
At the same time, all of you looked towards the stage or whatever distraction happened and looked back. She was gone. Could I get a history check from Fenrir and Ada and anyone else that thinks that their character were looking at this sort of conversation taking place?
Ah, 12s.
Lovely. Ada and Fenrir, with a 12, both of you are a little confused for a second, as she'd taken a couple of steps away from the table and was still about 25 feet from the door. But when you look back, she's just gone. The tales continue happening, however, and we'll jump to let's jump to Lana. And what are you doing as people start spreading off to different tables and telling their stories?
She has kind of just been table hopping and purposely going to check on her latest patient, but more in the hopes to talk to this lady in this very unique antlered mask that she sees.
Okay, as you go and pull Tao to the side at one place and start talking, you see at this point Thar has arrived back with Hidan, Leo's son. Everything seems to be fine. Hidan comes across to you, Leo, and mentions, tried to, but the son that was working there of the wharf master wouldn't take the coin. He said, "Happy Kingfisher," and told me to leave. I don't know. Look, I tried, and gives you the gold coin that you'd handed him. I think you might be muted.
I'll put it into my back little satchel pocket.
Okay,
and tell him to sit down.
Okay, he
not to drink.
takes a seat as he looks across at all the people sort of partying and having a good time. As Thar then walks over and joins the conversation with Tal and with Raylana, seeing the individuals here and seeing that Tal may be a little awkward, as Thar seems to have a better eye for this than the military Leo and the hard-headed Bjorn. He sort of tries to join to be like a good intermediate so that you two can talk. Okay, it's lovely to meet you. I heard briefly that you're the daughter of the healer in town?
Yes, Melina's my mother.
Lovely. Well, thank you for helping our captain here. He's good friends with Tal is her name, if she hasn't said anything.
Yeah, I was actually going to talk to her. That mask you're wearing, is that representative of something, or is that... It's real. I'm so unique. I haven't seen anything like it before.
Tal just stands there, looks, and brushes her shoulder and flicks some hair off her shoulder. And then she she nods, and she gives a thumbs up, and then he pats you on your head and walks away.
Look, from what I would guess, I think she has anxiety. I have heard her say a word here or there to Leo before in private. I think she's just very nervous. I don't know why. She hides her face and wears the hood. Most people I've seen like that usually have something to hide. Don't take it personally.
Oh, well. I didn't mean to offend at all, but okay.
No, that's fine. But while I've got you here...
in your head, straight away, as she walks away, you hear... in just like a plain, you just sense this phrase in your mind. You look very pretty.
Sorry, what was that?
I hadn't started my story yet. Are you okay?
Oh, I thought I just heard someone say something. Oh.
I'm not sure, sorry. But I was going to ask how you knew Ispin.
Yes. So he would come into my mother's shop to get patched up every now and then, and he actually was the first person I learned to stitch wounds closed with. So he was my first actual living patient.
As you're talking, just before you finish the sentence, as you hear the voice of the very frustratingly young fellow that you've had to deal with in town since growing up. Probably the last maybe 6 or 7 years, as they only moved here recently. Bakaris the Younger, as you hear, we've heard these stories 1,000 times.
Hello, Bakaris. Aren't you with your father somewhere?
He had better things to do, but I figured one of us should come here and show our respects. Look, you're telling it worse than he did. And we all know that Ispin didn't tell the best of tales. And there's a picture in the chat for all of you of what this little fella looks like in the story chat.
Oh, I
It's
hate
just a
him.
look of visual pain comes across Elena's face.
He swishes his gold bang out of his head. For you all at home, Bakaris, the youngest standing in front of our conversation right now, is a very pale-skinned boy, probably about 16, 17, has a short sword hanging at his hip with a black holster for it, brown pants with tall black boots, and a red gown with large, pompous arm areas at the shoulders and chest, and a black cape hanging over his shoulder, one side of his shoulder. Blonde hair that is combed over from the middle, parting, and a sort of wave that comes across his fringe with this smirk. Look, you may as well just stop talking, enjoy the food and drinks. It's free. You don't need to pretend that you actually enjoyed the stories.
Oh, that actually reminds me. Umpton was wanting to talk to you about some mishap they had with the wharf and someone not paying. So do you want? I think Umpton was looking for you. If you want to go find him, I think he just stepped outside. Do you want to go?
Oh, if someone needs to go and deal with that, maybe it should be someone of lower class.
I want to hurt this dude so bad.
Reminds me of Joffrey.
You see,
Oh, that's exactly, yeah.
I've got better things to do, and from what I remember with you and your mother and your tiny house, you're the people that do the odd jobs.
Mm-hmm.
That's the good thing about all you yokels, isn't it?
Does Leo hear this?
It's getting pretty loud now that it's starting to interrupt most of the conversations in the tavern.
Leo's gonna stand up and then move just to the side of her, not like in front of her, but just to the side, and then looking down at this little blonde-haired pipsqueak fuckface, say, a good leader knows when to lead and when to work and when to leave. Are you a good leader?
He shuffles to the side, obviously displeased, in a, you kind of sense scared sense. You've been a fighter for a while. Definitely not a confident sense. He like steps away from you with your intimidating pose. Look, none of you can take a joke. Vogler's such a shithole, and he walks out.
He's such an asshole.
Sorry if I impeded on your conversation. I just don't like little dickheads.
Oh, he's not a little one, but thank you for stepping in. He is the worst thing in this town. Him and his father are just... Ugh.
Yalm kind of comes across, and she's got a full plate of drinks. Relena, I'm sorry you had to deal with that again. I know that he's always acting up with people your age. Derek has to deal with the same stuff. He's always giving him crap about the Knights of Slumnia. But here, you all have this. Have one on the house. Don't tell your mother. She's over there drinking with other people. Have a good time.
Oh, you're the best, Yamla.
And hands the plate and starts kind of walking around to more other people. For the next couple of hours, you all spread across talking to different people here and there. And the only other major conversation begins as it sort of starts to come to a close after maybe another 2 hours, as most of the people have started to walk out and spread out. Your group sort of staying here as you're all staying in the Brass Crab. This is where most of you are going to be living. The last major conversation we have is finally the bongo player leaves, packs up his drums and goes out, and it's just quiet in the tavern. And I see a prayer from Fenrir. And we have Becklin Uthfahiran finally not having to... You could tell that she was almost hosting the event, where she was going around and making sure that everyone felt spoken to, all the elderly people that were kind of by themselves with their walking canes talking about Ispin. And finally comes and sits down with your group. Cudgel at this point has left with her cohort. But Becklin sits down with everyone. Thank you all for coming. There's lots of walks of life. I won't admit that I couldn't help but noticing. I'm not sure if all of you are together or not, but yourself, are you a member of the Crown?
No, I was still am not really sure. Was a squire. I
Oh,
came from Nordmar and Gragglemore Hold, the Eastwatch.
you were with. He said that he was related to them. Silris?
Says Vinacilrus, yes.
Yes, yes. You see that she like winces for a little bit, but then looks ahead.
Yeah.
Look, the guards, the Solomonic Order. Despite what everyone says, we will be something one day. We had a history of being great, and I don't know what happened in the Cataclysm, but I know that our order would have tried their best. Here, you said you're a squire, right?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I kind of left my master on unpleasant terms.
That makes sense. If you'd like to speak to someone that has gone through your experience in a different sense of light, she like waves over, and you see a young boy walks over to you. Relina, knowing this man, seems to be wearing blue clothes with patches of white everywhere. You tell straight away that it's the same clothes that you used to wear before you weren't wearing armor, as a squire of a Solomonic knight. I'll put this in the chat as well. He's got long black hair that kind of comes down to just below his ears and chin, with a fringe sort of poking between, showing one of his eyes. A long sword on his waist and back as well, and fairly simple clothing otherwise. As he walks over to the table, my name is Dorette Highwater. It is lovely to meet you all. I am a member and squire of the Knight of the Crown. I would like to humbly take a seat at this table. And he like bows his head, not lifting. You straight away, Dagar, recognize that this is the set procedure known in the measure that you need to do when asking to seat at a table.
I'm gonna like give him a little elbow. I think. Did you skip over that procedure when you were learning?
Just kind of rum eyes at him. Yes, the measure is one of the many things that needs to change of this order. Well, most of the measure anyway needs to be reevaluated.
But he's so polite.
As you guys sort of are whispering this conversation, you see that Becklin then does the same thing and sort of bows, and they're both just sort of awkwardly like bowing, waiting at the moment.
Please, and I'll just gesture them to sit down.
Both of them nod and pull out their seats and sit down. Derek speaks up. Well, you're right. So you're from another area. I haven't traveled out of Vogler. I grew up here. I'm friends with and points towards. Hey, Relina.
Hi, Derek.
Nervously looks down. So here we are. I grew up here with Relina and her mum. My parents. They left the Calaman a while ago, and I decided to stay here as I wanted to become a knight. You look a bit older than me though, as he looks like he's about 18.
The position I was in, my old master was more inclined in living the relaxing life rather than committing to anything that would further his renown and my own. So unfortunately, I was never given the opportunities to further my ranking in the order. So I stayed a knight a squire for 10 years.
You see that there's sort of like disbelief at the moment across Derek's head, and then he looks towards Becklin, and Becklin nods, and you hear like a quiet, not whisper, but I told you, across Ansalon, we need to make sure that we're holding up our order. Otherwise, things like this can happen, and people go astray. Derek looks back towards you. Well, maybe we could spar, squire on squire.
Oh, sounds like a good idea.
Lovely. We're staying. We live in the keep. Becklin here is the Castellan of Vogler, granted by the Knights of Solomnia, and she looks after the entire city by herself. She's made it to the point where the people in this town actually start to like her, and have a bit of better respect for the Knights of Solemnia. She's done a really good job. But Thornwall Keep, we stay up there with a little gnome. He's from the Nevermind Mountains. Thane, he makes some pretty cool inventions as well, although they're a bit dangerous, and looks towards Raylana, who Ada, you remember seeing flying across the sky earlier this morning. And Becklin interjects. With that being said, for all of you staying here tonight, and for the Kingfisher Festival tomorrow, did any of you have questions about the festival? I'd be happy to answer any of them.
Yeah, what are some of the main activities that happen during the festival? Is it just a food thing? Is there shows besides obviously the reenactment?
Yes, so the reenactment will happen at dusk, the end of the day. For the rest of the day, though, the entire festival begins at the crack of dawn, Rooster's Wake. And from there, there's many different cooking competitions, eating competitions. A lot of the fishermen like to see how many fish they can shove down their gob. Fishing competitions where a lot of people actually try to vie for if someone can catch the mythical Benegog the Bog. It's a large bass. They say it's, last time they mentioned like 14 or 15 feet long in the river. The mayor usually wins. The mayor is a very good fisherman, Raven. She's a lovely lady as well. But there's a lot of things to do over the course of the day. Markets get set up everywhere and anywhere, and you might find some oddities to buy, trinkets of the Kingfisher. And then, yeah, the reenactment. Now, the reenactment, this is one thing I did want to mention, because I have a couple of other mercenaries and adventurers ask if they could partake. We are withholding everyone from partaking in the reenactment, as we've already got all of the militia of Vogler, fishermen that are just very excited, not fully trained militia. None of them think they need sword training from myself. They're a quiet life here. Whenever we've had bandits, I've managed to hold them at bay myself, sometimes with help from Derek. But for all of you, there's a watching spot for all of us. I'll be there with Cudgel as well. She's not participating. She's given the instructions for her mercenaries to be at the bottom of the walk, and we can enjoy the show. It's all fake. They take spears into battle with them, usually a mug of ale in the other hand, as most people are usually drunk by that point at the end of the day. And everything is blunted down with large bits of wood on the end of the spears. But if you would like to come and watch the reenactment, I wouldn't lie that I would like to spend a bit more time with people that have been outside of Vogler. It does get quiet here sometimes, and as a Knight of Solemnia yourself, and the rest of you, and looks towards Leo and your sort of group, and then even towards Fenrir, you both seem to have insignias of different area. One, your armor looks like it's a make of Calaman towards Leo.
Yeah, past serviced.
I see. Calaman, they know how to fight. I'll give them that much. The soldiers know how to handle themselves, and still keeping up with things nowadays. It's a beautiful city with the statues on the outer walls. I have to go back sometime. But no, it's good to see that you know how to handle yourself as well. And you're Genasi? I've only come across one in my life.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known it if not for your hair. You seem very, I guess, your family heritage is melded in with some of the other races. I know that's been happening across all of Ansalon since the Cataclysm. One thing.
Yes.
As you're answering, one thing I will give you from everyone here, a lot of the information that she's given, obviously she knows a lot about a lot of things, but knowing like the history of the Knights is much more than your master has ever given you, Dagar. And Leo and Ada, her talking about history, even Tal, history of the Cataclysm and knowing stuff like that. This is things that usually a scholar would know. This isn't just general knowledge, and most of this stuff you guys probably don't even know, and she's like telling you for the first time, even though she's talking about it like it's common knowledge. But yes, families breed, sort of mating and meeting together as the world expanded and socialisms grew. It's amazing to see. If you don't mind me asking, where did your family come from?
I was born south of here in Kaolin, in the nation of Kaolin.
Oh, the dwarven cities under the mountain.
Yes.
Okay, that's such an oddity. Is there a group of Genasi or Earth? That confuses me though. So if it was Earth elementals and Earth Genasi that had sort of spawned and bred there, that would make sense. But you're a Fire Genasi. She seems like really intrigued and has kind of screwed a little closer, studying you.
Yeah, my history is quite vague to me. I never really got along with my father, and my mother I didn't know. So it's a bit of a soft topic. But you seem quite knowledgeable in history, and
Yes,
quite a knowledgeable person.
in Vogler, we have a lot of downtime. The last time that there was an attack on the city was some bandits that got into an argument at the Brass Crab, and that was 16 years ago. I have a lot of reading time, and I won't lie that I have ambitions, and looks back towards Leo, of bringing the order to the grandeur that it used to be. But did you have any questions? I'm happy to answer anything. The Knights of the Rose, the Knights of the Crown, anything. The Knights of the Sword.
Is it all knights related? Do you know anything of the old gods?
Oh,
By chance?
I've read a little bit about them. Why? What's your question?
I show this symbol, and I'm just wondering if this is at all familiar. The symbol of the claws that kind of circle each other around.
Let me do a roll for her. Okay. She looks towards it for a second and winces her eyes. No, actually, I have seen that once. I don't know who it belongs to, but I was reading a book about other orders.
So it's okay, you don't have to answer it.
I think he's frozen.
Yeah, I think we lost him.
Oh no.
Oh,
What
got a
a
way to freeze.
what a position to get locked in as well.
The tension's high. Leaving that suspense in the air. Oh no.
I think my question done broke him.
She falls to the ground and starts having a seizure. Oh no.
I'll take it.
That's impressive.
While that's happening, I'm going to lean over to Leo. Dagar is. I'm going to say, what did your, I guess, order? What were you kind of? What was your main task up there? Were you holding off against bandits, certain special creatures, praying for war? What do you do in your hold?
We're not an order by any means. Just some loyal fellow soldiers that saw the current service that we were doing not living up to expectations.
I know what you mean.
We mostly just protect the pass between the Esterwolds and the mountain ranges and the areas here in Solomnia.
And is just, since you've sort of made your own new company off from your old one, is it just the 4 of you? 5 of you?
No, there's about There's about 50 of us total. Not all soldiers. There's some just families that live there. Some in training still. But yeah, mostly just ranger patrols. I spend the majority of my days now more teaching and leading than I do fighting. However, in my youth I was quite strong and quite fast.
Believe it.
What about
And-
yourself? I've overheard that you were a squire for some time. Why? 10 years is a long time. Why did you hang around so long?
Because my old master was a fat, drunk piece of shit who never did anything good. He was apparently a descendant of one of the first knights of Slomir and then used that to get where he was in life. He was, to be fair, in the early years when I first joined and was training with him, was an expert fighter. But I don't know, about 3 years in, he decided to be basically a glorified bodyguard for the Duke there. Became fat, barely trained me, just sent me on little meaningless tasks, just shit to keep me occupied that barely did anything, guarding people at balls and crap. And then as it went on, he got more fat and lazy, and then I was apparently making deals on the side. Still not sure, he was doing something dodgy with some criminals one night, and I caught wind of it, and that was just the final straw. I left him after that, and that was about 2 years ago, and then I've been traveling around ever since, trying to do what I think's right, and given the Knights of Slumber's reputation, getting a lot of heated responses from people. So, yeah.
If you have, after this all, you've got nowhere to go and nothing to do, and you want to actually do something meaningful, you're more than welcome to come out east.
I might just do that. Keep in mind. Thank you. This is your son here.
Yes. He's my elder son. I have a younger son back at home with my wife. About time he started to see the world a little bit more, as I'm getting older and can't lead forever. So this is his first trip out of home, so to speak.
And after the festival, are you heading back home, or plan on going anywhere else?
No, we'll head back. We're just here to say our farewells. See if we can, and he gives like a little smile to you. Recruit some more distant folk and get some small supplies that we're missing.
What about yourself, Fenrir? Are you heading back south after the festival, or?
I just go wherever the adventure takes me. I sort of play it by ear. I've been traveling north. On my adventures north is where I met Ispen, and I'll continue going north, or whichever way the world takes me, I guess.
Is there any set goal for you north, or just heading north and seeing what's out there?
Heading north to see what's out there. Probably, escaping a few things from the past. Down south, further north I go, the better I feel, I guess.
And Ada, I don't think I got where you were from.
Oh, I'm from to be honest with you, I've never really left home, and it's not a place that you would know. It's in the middle of a forest, and it's no one besides my tribe knows about it. So I don't feel comfortable giving you the location or the name, if that is okay, just to keep the transparency. But they are a lovely bunch of people. Yeah, but I got sick of it, so now I'm here.
Is it weird now that I want to know more about your people?
Oh, they would not want to know about you. They're very secluded, very uh it's we are Yuan T. We don't really blend well with other people. They like to keep to themselves, like to do their own thing. I didn't want to do that as I grew older and decided that my parents wanted me to stay and just carry on with what they did and did all the things ugh. And so I was like, I'm gonna be a big girl and leave. So I did. But
Hats off to you.
I'm slightly terrified, but we're kicking on so far.
I've heard stories that 1T are monstrous snake people, but you don't seem to resemble anything like a snake.
I'll like look at you like real quickly, and you'll see like my eyes will go like all reptilian, and then I'll shift in the light, and you'll see slight down my neck towards the back is all shimmered scales, and I've learnt to hide it as people don't take too well to a reptilian looking person. Like when I first left, I had a few spicy encounters with a few people on the road, and I barely got away with my life. So I have learnt to speak better. I sometimes hiss slightly. I've learnt to cover myself and fix my eyes. So yeah. So if you catch me slipping up, I apologize.
No, I must have misspoke. I mean, like, the stories are like, half person, half snake, but you've got the smallest
Oh,
features.
the abominations. Yes, they really are more like them, and then there's myself and my tribe are more all look like me, but slightly like reptilian like, but definitely not the abominations. They're like their own. They don't stay with us. They don't really um like to be around us. They do their own thing, and it's a whole deal.
Are you ostracized? Are you considered low caste of your people?
Say that, I suppose.
Like, the more snake-like features you have, the higher you are, and the less you have, the less you are.
Yes.
With your clan, am I back in everything all good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With your clan, Ada, there wasn't many other than purebred Yuan-Ti. You know and have seen pictures, and your parents spoke about it a little bit, but you haven't met personally too many of like the abominations, the Yuan-Ti Malisons, other ones like that. You might have seen some of them once or twice in your life during like meetings of other clans, but very minimal at that. So you never really got too involved in any sort of like hierarchy. You definitely feel ostracized purely just because of how your parents made you feel. That's not even a clan thing.
Yeah. 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 So
Um,
they were in like the abomination clan, then ours, then
That's the way that it's
kind of
sort of
thing.
treated at the moment. Yeah, all very
Yeah.
segregated and hidden, not having their own sort of empire.
Yeah.
Now, how far? Sorry about that. My entire computer. I hope that it's okay. It froze and crashed, and we have a storm at the moment. And it's not turning back on. I've tried it a couple of times, so I'm on the laptop. But hopefully, I don't have to buy a new computer. In the meantime, how much did you get off of Becklin? Because I don't know when it exactly stopped. When she was looking at the symbol that you have of the chromatic claws coming out of that sigil.
Well, she basically stated that she had read it in a book.
Did
And
she
that's
explain what about in the book, or not yet?
not yet.
Okay, so as she's looking over it and says that she did see it in a book, she does mention there so they were in studies I was doing of orders, like night orders, And I remembered there was a order of this was across Kryn, not even just Ansalon. Night orders from many different lands and many different places. One of them had that sigil, but I don't remember who it is for or who the sigil belongs to. Sorry.
Would it be weird if I told you that that this sigil was found on a bunch of reptilian sort of abominations just south of here?
I don't mean to be offensive at all, and looks towards Ada. Similar
Ah,
to Yuan Ti or to lizard folk. I know that lizard folk are a very barbaric culture. They eat and use bones for tools. Some Yuan Ti, this isn't even stories. Ada, you seem a lot more polite and pretty. But I have dealt with some of the more monstrous Yuan Tis, ones that say they've been cursed by snake gods and often perform in their own blood rituals. Was it one of those? Because if they're close to Vogler, then I need to know.
did they by any chance have wings? Because these ones did.
No.
You've not seen or heard in your travels anything like that?
Well, there's obviously the myths from pre-cataclysm that when the gods were around, they also had dragons, and when the gods went to sleep, the dragons went to sleep. But even at that, from what you're saying, these creatures were you fought with them. How were they in combat? How were they as monstrous as the stories tell?
Tal's going to step forward, put her hand on Fenrir, and give him a thumbs up, and then use disguise self and turn into one.
Oh, okay. So what everyone sees now, in front of them, and the audience, is their very first look at this weird reptilian, not even hybrid, monstrosity is a better word for it. A large, fat stomach and body, that is humanoid in height, about 6 foot tall, probably a little shorter than that, if anything. A very stout, stocky body. Large, stocky arms and legs that come down from it as well. A scimitar raising in its left hand that seems to have a very ornate design and make to it of golds and silvers. A symbol on the sort of handle of the blade, the same symbol that so far is on this drawing that Fenrir has been showing around. Armor with bits of pauldron and chest piece, which has blacks across it, and the same symbol on a shoulder piece. Or a black cloak dragged across it that has rips and tears in many different places. A sickly green, scaly skin, but the entire skin itself, like Leo had mentioned, seems to have a weird residue, ichor, some sort of like almost what you would see when a baby is born, a weird sort of gooey substance atop the skin, or when, for any of you, if your characters had fought oozes or things such as that, or creatures of the water, where they seem to have a weird membrane that covers their flesh. They seem to have that over the scales. And then wings that protrude from its fat back, but the wings themselves look unable to carry the weight of its body with their size, and then on top of that they seem to have like ripped and shredded bottom parts of these reptilian wings. It's not for, from what you can tell, evolutional purpose, and doesn't seem to have any other use as well. It's odd to kind of tell what the reason of it is, as everyone sees Tal turning into this hideous creation at the moment.
Then
Declan is kind of just speechless at the moment.
once people have gotten a look, she's then gonna bamf back, and then give like and then just kind of fade back.
Where did you see these? And looks towards you, Fenrir.
Just south, in the dense vegetation.
How many?
Before 5.
5? And you killed all of them?
We killed 2.
The other 3?
There was a big. They took off. There was a big red one that kind of seemed to be the leader. of the pack. They
How
escaped
big? Because
before.
that doesn't seem like a dragon. That's a human sized. Was the red one large? You say bigger. How bigger?
I look at
From memory,
Leo.
when you look at Leo, it was definitely, it was, to be honest with you right now, because obviously we didn't go into too much detail in the prelude. It was only a couple of feet taller than the other ones. It was maybe 6'3". If anything, it
Okay,
was more so closer to Bjorn's size. They weren't monstrously large. This red one, it was just
yeah.
larger than the others.
Is
So
Beyond still here? So I can
yeah,
kind
he
of like,
is.
yeah.
As you explain, and he sort of stands up as a reference as Becklin like stands him up, sort of taking control of the situation. Okay, my main worries is the look that you've just shown me, a friend of Leo, is that they're battle ready. I've fought bandits for a long time. I've been a knight of Salamnia for maybe 5 or 6 decades now, and I've only ever seen soldiers and knights of the order that well guarded, or other adventurers and warlords of bandits. That's the garms they're wearing aren't raider or bandit garms, and the armor they're wearing. Where did they flee to? What direction did they flee? Can you give me you, Tal, and Leo, give me a history check. Also, on the laptop, I don't have Foundry open, unfortunately, on my side, and I'm not sure if it'll still let you use Foundry, so you may need to do this on D&D Beyond.
Yeah, it doesn't let you use it once you've.
Yeah.
Do you think they're part of a larger force, Becklin?
The way the creature retreated, it
I
wasn't
hope not.
in. It wasn't in haste. It wasn't in panic. It was almost a calculated withdrawal.
She's biting her lip. Derek seems to not really understand what's going on and is kind of like flashing and looking between Dagar and Leo and Fenrir and Becklin, and kind of back and forth between all of you, sort of out of the loop of like what's going on. What were the history checks that we got for the three people?
I got 19.
19. Leo and Tal?
History. No good for for Leo, but Tal got a 23.
Okay.
Oh.
Fenrir and Tal, both of you sort of remember for a second, this kind of makes sense. Leo was unconscious near the end and quit pretty quickly into the fight. When the fight finished, you do know that the red one sort of flew into the trees, into the skyline, and the green ones just disappeared. A little bit after that scuffle happened, you two that were still conscious, Tal and Fenrir, tried to find some of the footprints for the two that were on those cliffs or edges and see where they went to. You ended up losing track of them when it came towards the Vingard River. You traveled down the Vingard River eventually to the ferry where you guys were. But you know that they ran from where you were to the Vingard River would have been north. So you mentioned that to Becklin.
Yeah.
Okay,
From
north.
what yeah.
Well, if that's the case, there's not too many people that have explored the northern wastes. They may be a new entity post-cataclysm that lives up there. There's been a lot of things coming out. Yourself as a Genasi being rare. Yuan Ti, definitely, I have not seen many of your kind. Maybe they are one of those. Maybe they are from the northern wastes, if that is where they were heading to. And this was just a more advanced raiding party. What were they doing when you engaged in them?
They had attacked a carriage. So it looked like they were getting supplies.
Okay, well that matches up with that point then. Okay, well I'll look into it a little further, see if I can send any communication to the closest Knight's headquarters. But thank you for letting me know. If Vogler is unsafe, then I need to make sure that I do something about it, especially with the Kingfisher Festival tomorrow. Okay. Sorry for taking up all your time, and sorry for getting so serious. I get into a bit of a battle mode if people are in harm's way, and I need to make sure that I know all facts. Facts and knowledge is the true power, the pen over the sword. But for the most part, though, it was lovely meeting all of you. You all seem like such colorful individuals from so many walks of life. Fenrir, despite your initial outlook, you are a very respectable man. Ada, you seem very caring. Leo, you seem to know how to handle yourself and your men, as Thar and Bjorn sort of grab you from both sides. And you even have a very nice upbringing boy. He looks like he's just as strong as his father, as he's like lankily sitting in the chair. Raylana, as usual, so lovely with you and your mother. But Daga, I want to know that the Knight's Order is going to go somewhere successfully. And even if I cannot do that personally for you, why don't you come across the keep one time and spar with Derrit? You could all come. Leo, I could spar with yourself, leader upon leader, and have a small little bout. There's a couple of hours before the Kingfisher Festival actually begins tomorrow morning. Are you up to it?
Definitely.
Definitely. And also, if you are going to investigate this weird dragon creature further, please feel free to let me know and I'll help anywhere I can.
No problem, 100%. Obviously, if it involves Vogler, it involves you, Relena. If you're happy to help Dagar, that is amazing. And Ada, if I wouldn't mind speaking with you privately for a second. But for now, though, I think that should be everything. You can all enjoy exploring the rest of Vogler for the rest of today, and have a good afternoon. But yes, Ada, this is also about the same dealings. I feel like that you may be able to help me in a particular way.
Of course, I'll do what I can.
As
I'll gesture to go.
you guys walk off a little bit, and the rest of the group does their own things. We'll start ending the session here for the first episode of the Shadow of the Dragon Queen. As she takes you aside, there's not too much I really wanted to say. I'd obviously been looking to all of these people eager to help, and from their different areas looked like adventurers and people that would want to take up a quest like this. You yourself gave the same sort of personification as I recognized I didn't mean to pry. It's a habit of mine being the protector of this town. But your bag, when it was lodged against with everyone else's in the brass crab area, I saw poking out from the top you're a member of the High Towers. And you see that
Newly member, yes.
you see over near the wall, as you've put the bag down, as you're still getting used to it being in the bag because you are still a new member, it's sort of poked out of the lid. It's definitely not any sort of sly act by herself, and you worriedly go over and like close the lid back over it, as that book is worth like 150 gold. You quickly push it back down, close the lid, and she walks over to, don't worry. I during the entire funeral and wake, I kept an eye on it for you. I didn't want to touch your bag, as that was not my belongings. But as a wizard, even if you are new yourself, modest or not, someone of the arcane would definitely be useful in this investigation and possible defense of Vogler if there is more raids by bands like this. 5 isn't a large number, and if they were getting supplies, then that would make sense. If they've ran out of food in their local area as a civilization, then it would make sense for them to hunt in surrounding areas. That is what I'm hoping. But if your magic can also help, that would be amazing, and you would be just as much of an asset as everyone here. But I didn't want to announce that in front of the group, as I do know that the wizards do prefer their secrecy. That was the only reason I wanted to separate you.
That's all good. No, thank you. I really appreciate that, actually, because I don't honestly know to do being new if I say I am or if I don't say I am. So I appreciate it.
That is completely fine. But I have matters to attend to myself. I need to head back to the keep, as your friend Raylena would know, being a local here. I've got a little gnome in my keep who is causing troubles, and I need to head back quickly before he sets off an explosion and blows my home.
Does he throw people around?
Yes, he's the gnome flinger, I think, even though it flings things that aren't gnomes. It's
Yeah, I witnessed. I think it was her before when I walked in get like absolutely sent.
They're very
So-
good friends. They've been friends since childhood. His first working invention was that gnome flinger and a device. I can't remember the name, but some sort of bag that helps you float so softly to the ground.
Oh,
But
I have a spell similar.
oh, see, I've told him that magic is fine, but he says that science needs to advance. Look, the most science has done for us is make a water mill, and I don't know what goods that's going to do otherwise than helping some crops. But the knights, however, that's a way forward for the world. Anyway, I should be on my way. Bid you adieu, my lady. And she does like a special bow, and again, something that you would guess as you heard Dagar speaking about it, possibly like rules and regulations by her order of how she has to say goodbye. You now click back a second and realize that Derek Highwater did the same thing as he left the table. As she bows, leaves, and you're on your own. Everyone will get towards what everyone was doing when we get to next session, and we're going to cut away from Vogler. As everyone starts heading off in their own areas for the afternoon, with the town still preparing and a orange sky turning into purple across Vogler's air and clouds, as the afternoon takes on and final preparations begin for the Kingfisher Festival tomorrow. A far, far distance on the other side of the continent, away from everyone, past the mountains of the Taman Basuk, however, a very different scene is taking place. A human sultan, leader of a people in a deserted land, kneels in front of another human, same race, but definitely a different ranking. The human in front of him, chest bared, bits of hide and animal pieces on his legs, and rising up to a large sword drawn across his back, and a helmet that covers down from his collarbone all the way up to above his head, an ornate chiseled made out of some black rock and black stone. A infernal voice speaks in a demonic language to the human, as the human in this bowed procession leans across and slices a huge cut from one peck up along his neck, along his ear and face, as blood starts to drip and cuts down, back down the other side along his back and his neck, along both areas, then connecting the entire bit. And the individual in front of him with this helmet grabs the top of his forehead and the flesh that is missing and tears the skin off, slowly pulling as the human resists, screaming, sinews and tendons snapping and twinging with plangs, lips and teeth being drawn exposed, eyes and eyebrows missing with just the eyeballs inside, and the entire chest and front of the neck exposed as the individual starts screaming back in Infernal. And surrounding both of them, a large mound of red slowly swirls around like a serpent, towering up 30, 40, 50 feet tall, and a rumble coming from its chest. And that is where we will end the first session of Shadow of the Dragon Queen.
Whoa!
What the heck?
Jesus Christ.
No warning at all.
0 to 100 real quick.
That sounds like my Friday night.
Hope you guys enjoyed. We had some lovely fairy crossings, some lovely bickering with a little child, and then brutal scalping and skin being torn from flesh. So, I hope you all, in the meantime, Have a lovely Christmas. Have a lovely time. We will catch you all next year with the start of episode 2 and the rest of this campaign. Enjoying the changes in how the story flows, seeing the bickering happening between Bakaris and the people there, the adventures from Thane, and the slow invasion from the east as the Dragon Queen's army makes its way here and completes other rituals and negotiations. In the meantime, I've been Christian Langford of Hermes D&D Services. We'll have our socials up on different links, so check it out there, but I won't waste any of your time for the rest of the night. Hope you all really enjoyed, and is there anything else, or are we good?
Now, just stay tuned for Upcasters on Thursday. So we'll have the last one of those for about 2 weeks over the Christmas period and holiday period. So jump in for that for episode 11, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, thank you again as well for jumping in as DM. It's always nice to play. I'm really looking forward to this campaign, so it should be a hoot.
It's good to get out of the forever seat. I can definitely understand that. But I have read all the book and I'm super keen for this. So definitely catch us next time. Share the story to your friends and family. Upstarters #3. We're gonna beat Critical Role. We're gonna beat Brennan Lee Mulligan. Everything's gonna slowly go that way. So, otherwise, yeah, share it to your friends and family, and they can enjoy this new book released by Dungeons & Dragons and Wizards of the Coast. In the meantime, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.